like to call the village board meeting to order. Roll call.
President Byrne.
Here.
Trustee Cook.
Here.
Trustee Marquardt.
Here.
Trustee Hebda.
Here.
Trustee Williams.
Here.
Trustee Schwartz.
Here.
Trustee Schultz.
Here.
We have a quorum present. Do we already do the pledge?
We do. We can do it
Mm-hmm.
again.
Want to do it again?
Yes.
Do as part of your meeting.
Yeah, okay.
Well, don't we first have
Well,
to
wait,
do that?
wait,
Yeah,
let's
should
do
the
it.
motion to adjourn sine ADA.
Second.
Motion is second.
Trustee Schultz.
Aye.
Trustee Schwartz.
Aye.
Trustee Marquardt.
Aye.
Trustee Williams.
Aye.
Trustee Hebda.
Aye.
Trustee Cook.
Aye.
Motion carries. I'd like to call we're going to swear in the newly elected officials. So, do I have to go in any particular order?
Nope.
You can do it any way you want, but maybe you want to be sworn in first.
Yeah, okay.
And then,
Well, if you're gonna, yeah.
All right.
You want to swear
Okay.
at
To the
you or
altar.
swear you in?
You got the oath? All right. Okay, Patrick, get up here. You're doing it.
All right.
Oh,
Yes.
that's trick.
If I may, for those of you that don't know, Patrick is Mayor Byrne's son.
They look kind of alike.
Yes.
Okay. Raise your right hand. I, Roger L. Byrne,
I, Roger L. Byrne,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution
I will support the Constitution
of the United States
of the United States
and the Constitution
and the Constitution of Illinois,
of the State of Illinois,
State of Illinois,
and that I will faithfully discharge the duties
and I will faithfully discharge the duties
of the office of Village President
of the office of Village President
according to the best of my ability.
according to the best of my ability.
Dated this 7th day of May 2013.
Okay, thank
Wait, Roger.
Roger, get a
picture of
Patrick.
Picture.
Two's better. Three's even better.
Need to turn around for the press, too.
Oh, to that. Oh, you can stand it. Yeah, even a handshake. How's that?
Okay. All right. Next is Trustee Barbara Williams. You want me to come over there? No, I'll come over here.
Here, right here.
Raise your right hand, please. I, Barbara Williams,
I, Barbara Williams,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States,
I will support the Constitution of the United States,
the Constitution of the State of Illinois,
the Constitution of the State of Illinois,
and that I will faithfully discharge
and that I will faithfully discharge
the duties of the office of Village Trustee
the duties of the office of Village Trustee
according to the best of my ability.
according to the best of my abilities.
Dated this 7th day of May, 2013. Congratulations. Okay. Trustee Tom Cook's going to be sworn in by the Lake County Board President, Aaron Lawler.
Thank you very much. 5 months ago, I was honored to be elected the youngest chairman in Lake County's history, and in many respects its due to having Tom Cook as my 7th grade government teacher, where I did get a 98% on my U.S. Constitution test because he drilled it into our heads. So if you'll raise your right hand and repeat after me. I, Thomas A. Cook, Jr.
I, Thomas A. Cook, Jr.
Do solemnly swear
Do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of Illinois,
and the Constitution of the State of Illinois,
and that I will faithfully discharge
and that I will faithfully discharge
the duties of the office of village trustee
the duties of the office of village trustee
according to the best of my ability.
according to the best of my ability.
Congratulations. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Aaron. She has a job? Okay, that's good. He's probably happy about that. Okay. Yeah, I know it. Well, I'm sure, you look kind of happy, he looks happier, you know. Okay, that's good. Anything else?
Not at this time, thank you.
All right, that's fine. It's nice to see you. Okay. The oath of office, I, James E. Schultz,
I, James E. Schultz,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of Illinois,
and the Constitution of the State of Illinois,
and that I will faithfully discharge
and I will faithfully discharge
the duties of the office of village trustee
the duties of the office of village trustee
according to the best of your abilities.
according to the best of my ability.
Dated the 7th day of May, 2013. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Is there a picture? Is that it? She walked away kind of quick there, you know. All right. Okay. All right, with that said, I'd like to call the village board meeting to order. Roll call.
President Byrne?
Here.
Trustee Williams? Here. Trustee Hebda?
Here.
Trustee Cook?
Here.
Trustee Markwart?
Here.
Trustee Schultz?
Here.
Trustee Schwartz?
Here.
We have a quorum present. Would everybody please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, are there any citizens that wish to address the board tonight on anything other than what's on committee of the whole? Because it's on committee of the whole, I'll call on you. You can participate in the discussion on whatever items there. Okay.
There are some seats on the front. There are some seats over here and on both sides.
That's it. Okay, first item is Proclamation Stevenson High School 2013 Boys Basketball IHSA Second Place Championship. And I assume some of the players are here. The coaches are?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, well, why don't you guys come up? Yeah. And this is Coach Ambrose? And is there any assistant coaches here? Or? Coach Taylor and Hess. Okay. Well, you guys can stand up. Are there any people here who want to take pictures of these guys? No?
John. Right there, right there. Take a picture.
Okay. All right. Will you guys tell, is Jalen Bronson here? Okay. Cameron Green? No. No. Well, who's here? Yeah.
Junior Matt Morrison.
Okay.
Senior Andy Stemple.
Okay.
Senior Riley House.
Okay.
Junior Josiah Sanders. sophomore Parker Nichols. Junior Ernest Clark. Okay. Junior Russell Kirschman. And coach David S.
Okay. This proclamation obviously is to recognize you, your team for taking second place in the state championship. The varsity basketball team finished the season with a record of 29-5 and as North Suburban Conference champions. On their road to state, the Patriots defeated Grays Lake North, Waukegan in the regional, Mundelein and St. Viator in the sectional, Rockford Boylan in the super sectional. The Patriots toppled Edwardsville in the state semifinal, but lost the three-time defending state champion Simeon in the state title game. And I, Roger L. Byrne, President, and the Board of Trustees of the Village of Vernon Hills, hereby proclaim that the Stevenson High School 2013 boys varsity basketball team be congratulated for their second place finish at the Illinois High School State Association State Finals, dated this 7th day of May 2013. Congratulations, guys. Coach, you want to say something?
No, I just want to say thank you very much for having us. We're really very proud of our accomplishments. We're really thankful for all the support that we received from the season.
Congratulations. Coach, you want to take care of these, the proclamations? I'm sure all these guys will want to take them, you know, away when they go to college and, you know, have them framed, put them up on the wall. I'm sure it'll be real important to them. So, all right, guys. Thank you.
Great job.
One of the blue goes to school.
That one goes to school.
Oh, wait a second, Coach. Here, give this to Coach, will you?
That one goes to
Maybe that'll go in the trophy case. Okay. Maybe not.
There you go. All right.
Okay. Next is. Okay. Public Works, National Police Week Peace Officers Memorial. I gotta beam it up. Is it over here? No.
No, it must be over here.
Bear with me. This thing went to sleep. Okay. We got it there? No.
I'm trying to get it if I.
Well, I got to pull it up. Oh, okay, you got it.
You have it?
Whereas the Congress and President of the United States have designated May 15th as Peace Officers Memorial Week, and the week in which it falls as Police Week. The members of the law enforcement agency of Vernon Hills play an instrumental role in safeguarding. I got it right here. I got one too many piles up here. Blah, blah, blah. The members of the law enforcement agency of Vernon Hills play an essential role in safeguarding the rights and freedoms of Vernon Hills. It is important that all citizens know and understand the duties, responsibilities, hazards, and sacrifices of their law enforcement agency. And the members of our police department recognize their duty to serve the people by safeguarding life and property, by protecting them against violence and disorder, and by protecting the innocent against deception and the weak against oppression. The men and women of the Vernon Hills Police Department unceasingly provide a vital public service. I, Roger L. Byrne, President of the Village of Vernon Hills, call upon all citizens of Vernon Hills and upon all patriotic, civic, and educational organizations to observe the week of May 12th through May 18th, 2013 as Police Week, with appropriate ceremonies and observances in which all of our people may join in commemorating police officers past and present, who by their faithful and loyal devotion to their responsibilities have rendered a dedicated service to their communities, and in doing so have established for themselves an enviable and enduring reputation for preserving the rights and security of all citizens. I further call upon all citizens of Vernon Hills to observe May 15, 2013 as Peace Officers Memorial Day in honor of those peace officers who, through their courageous deeds, have made the ultimate sacrifice in service to their community or have become disabled in the performance of duty, and let us recognize and pay respect to the survivors of our fallen heroes. I have hereunto set my hand and caused the seal of the Village of Vernon Hills to be affixed. Okay. Proclamation Public Works Week. Oh, got it. Yeah. Public Works Week proclamation. The theme for 2013 is about the quality of life brought to communities around the world. We were able to have clean water, safe streets and neighborhoods, efficient traffic, and safe, clean communities because of Public Works. Public Works services provided in our community are an integral part of our citizens' everyday lives. The support of an understanding and informed citizenry is vital to the efficient operation of public works systems and programs such as water, sewers, streets, highways, public buildings, solid waste collection, and snow removal. The quality and effectiveness of these facilities, as well as their planning, design, and construction, is vitally dependent upon the efforts and skill of public works officials. The efficiency of the qualified and dedicated personnel who staff public works departments is materially influenced by the people's attitude and understanding of the importance of the work that they perform. I, Roger Byrne, President of the Village of Vernon Hills, do hereby proclaim the week of May 19th through May 23rd National Public Works Week because of Public Works that's being the theme this year in the Village of Vernon Hills. And I call upon all citizens and civic organizations to acquaint themselves with the problems involved in providing our public works and to recognize the contributions which public works officials make every day in our health, safety, comfort, and quality of life. So public works has been certainly forefront in the news with all the flooding. So, you know, everybody, I'm sure, labored to a fault throughout many communities. So,
We were fortunate.
yeah, we were fortunate because we got a lot of detention ponds, but that's a sidebar. Okay. Again, Village Park District Liaison meeting is May 14th. Is there anything else they add to that?
No, we'll send out an agenda by the end of the week. Most of it's going to be about the Vernon Hills Athletic Complex.
Yeah, okay. All right. Village manager. I didn't say you three could leave. Okay, bye. All right, Public Works Manager, Electric Aggregation Program Renewal.
Thanks, Mayor. Before you, as the students prefaced it before, they really did a great job. What we're looking at is renewing our contract for another 11 months. And unfortunately, we're not going to achieve the kind of savings that took place last year, this past current year. But we are going to have somewhere between 7 and 8.2% savings over Commonwealth Edison's rate. I would recommend, I know my original recommendation was looking at renewable, 100% renewable, with the, that would be the default option, and then if one wanted to go to brown energy or non-renewable standard, you'd have to opt for that. But I think after talking to our consultant and our consortium, it looks like we're heading more in the direction of several communities, as I think I mentioned to you. Wheeling and Arlington Heights last night went with 100% renewable. So I would recommend that we go ahead and do the 100% renewable, and that there wouldn't be an option. Of course, residents always have the option of the default, which is Commonwealth Edison, or they can certainly, at the end of this term, which would be June next month, choose whoever they want, Constellation, MC Squared. There's probably like 15 to 20 firms that are on the list from the Illinois Commerce Commission. So if, I guess I'd ask a consensus if that is the direction you want to go, and then I'd talk to the consultant, and Integris would do a letter then basically saying, pretty much like the letter that residents received about 10 months ago. Questions?
No, the only question is too, is that unfortunately too, what's happening is there are people out there that are soliciting to, in your mail. So be alert of what you're receiving here and what someone else is selling.
It is confusing. Again, the firm that the village will aggregate with, you can decide who you want to choose, but it's Integris Energy. So that's the one. And there will be a letter going out with Integris's logo as well as the village's in the next. Correct. If you concur with my recommendation, a resident does not have to do anything at all. They can just rip the letter up and throw it in the trash, and they'll stay on the 100% renewable for a period through next May.
Do you know when that letter will be going out?
The letter will probably be going out beginning of next week.
Trustee Schultz.
2 points. Number one, are you looking for a motion at this juncture?
Actually, in the packet I gave to you, you could, if you care to, you can do the same motion the students did.
Fine. And the second point, more germane, is how much is it going up? I know we're going to save money over the Commonwealth Edison posted rate,
Right.
which most of us were paying prior to a year ago. But how much is it going up from last year?
It's, well, the 35% of it, which again, going back to the supply piece of your electricity bill is about 35 to 40%, a little less than 40%. That piece of it, what we're talking about tonight, is going to go up about 16%. Now that's still 7% lower than Commonwealth Edison.
Right.
And I can explain, one of the major elements is, and I'm probably not going to explain this too well, but it's called PJM charge, and originally it stands for Pennsylvania, Jersey, Maryland, and they were original founders of a group that, and you probably have read about the power grid in the United States and how this is a group that controls the power grid, and it's made up of the power industry. And what they guarantee is a certain peak load ability to supply power, because as we all know, you can't really store power in any amounts, appreciable amounts. So it has to be available at all times when it's 95 degrees out. One of the fees that is going up is that what's called a PJM charge, because they're just raising that. And everyone will have to pay that, whether you're a Commonwealth Edison customer, an Amron customer in Springfield, anywhere in the Midwest, anywhere in the eastern United States, you'll have to pay that. So that's one element that's going up.
Mike, when's your letter going to be available to look at, or when are you going to send us that?
Integris is drafting a letter for each of the 7 communities, and we'll, as soon as I get it, I'll email it to you.
I just want to make sure that residents are clear that you're still saving money by not going to ComEd, and that they understand that piece, and that part of that regulation is what you just talked about. Well, the chart that's on the one letter that you have in front of you, that a chart similar to that will be in that letter. I just think people will see a red flag, oh, my rates are going up, and they get confused by that. And like Mike said, so many phone calls or people are trying to solicit, turn yourself over to us.
Right.
So I just want to know that people know that what the village is doing, we're really making all efforts to attempt to save dollars for those individuals too as well.
And as you said, you will be putting a letter in with the one from Integra, or that'll just be
well, it'll be a joint. It's going to be a joint letter with both our logos on it. We'll get to approve, of course.
Right, because everybody's already getting letters from different power companies. So we should stress the fact that the one that we're doing also has our logo on it. So they need to make sure that that's the one they're looking at. Okay, thank you.
Motion to accept the proposal for 100% renewable energy as the contract base as previously proposed by the student governments.
I second it.
There's a second. Motion and a second. Any further comments or questions? If none, roll call.
Trustees Hebda?
Aye.
Aye.
Markwart?
Aye.
Schultz?
Aye.
Schwartz?
Aye.
Williams?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you.
Okay. Next item is the omnibus vote agenda. Is there a motion to approve items A through
BB. Through BB.
BB?
Can we pull P, please?
P as in Peter?
P as in
All right,
Peter.
pull P. All right. Anybody else want anything else pulled? Okay. Is there a motion to approve items A through O, Q through BB?
So moved.
Second.
Motion is second. Any further comments or questions? If none, roll call.
Trustees Cook,
Aye.
Markwart,
Aye.
Schultz,
Aye.
Schwartz,
Aye.
Williams,
Aye.
Hebda.
Aye.
Motion carries. Is there a motion to approve
It's just the building material.
and passage of resolution 2013-081, resolution authorizing the payment of $300,000 to Kemper Sports Management for payment of salaries and benefits of the Vernon Hills Golf Course.
Motion approved.
Second.
Motion is second. Comments or questions? Larry, what you want to comment on this just briefly since it was pulled?
As far as what the resolution.
Well, I mean, this is to pay the people that work there.
Right. This is to pay basically the revenues of the golf course, of the 9-hole Vernon Hills Golf Course, are received by the village and then used to fund the operation of the golf course, including the payment of the contract to Kemper, which includes Kemper hires the employees, but we essentially pay the costs of those employees.
Okay. All right. What did we pay out last year? Do you remember, Larry?
I don't remember the exact figure, but I remember when we worked on this, we realized we needed to be about $300,000 to be safe. It's going to vary depending on the timing of seasonal employees, when they're brought on, when they're ended, how much additional hours are required. But our estimate was we needed $300,000 based on last year.
Okay. So we got a motion and a second?
Yes.
All right, roll call.
Trustees Markwart,
Aye.
Schultz,
Aye.
Schwartz,
Abstain.
Williams,
Aye.
Hebda,
Aye.
Cook.
Aye.
Motion carries. Okay. Unfinished business, approval of Kemper voucher list of bills dated May 7th, 2013, the amount of $11,377.75. Is there a motion to approve?
So move.
Second.
Motion is second. Any comments or questions? If none, roll call.
Trustees Schultz,
Aye.
Schwartz,
Abstain.
Williams,
Aye.
Hebda,
Aye.
Cook,
Aye.
Markwart.
Aye.
Motion carries. B, approval of the village board minutes of April 16th, 2013.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion is second. Comments or questions, corrections, deletions? If none, roll call.
Trustee Schwartz,
Aye.
Williams,
Aye.
Hebda,
Aye.
Cook,
Aye.
Markwart,
Aye.
Schultz.
Aye.
Motion carries. Item C, Westfield Hawthorn Shopping Mall Economic Incentive Agreement.
Thank you, Your Honor. As you know, Westfield is proposing to redevelop the mall property, including the construction of the new theater and related restaurants and retail space, along with remodeling existing facade areas throughout the mall property, specifically focusing on the entrances. The total project investment that Westfield is proposing to complete this work is approximately $50 million. Again, as you recall, we've completed the entitlement process with them this past March, and they are currently in building permit review at this time. We're anticipating that work will commence within 60 to 90 days and will be ongoing over the next 14 months to complete the overall project. As a part of the discussion with Westfield, They are requesting that the village rebate sales tax revenues generated from the Westfield-owned portions of the property. They are proposing to cap the total amount of sales tax rebate at a maximum of $9.411 million. That's a net present value. They'll use this shared revenue for construction-related costs related to the building and site improvements, including the remodeling of the entrances, construction of the theater building, utility relocation, and installation and parking lot repairs. The proposed terms of the economic incentive agreement would include a term length of a maximum of 10 years and with a 7.5% discount rate applied to the rebate. The agreement would include language that may allow the term to be extended to the extent there remains an unpaid balance on the sales tax obligation. The sales tax revenue would come from the theater retail addition and portions of the existing inline space, excluding the 4 anchor stores. So Macy's, JCPenney's, Carson's, and Sears would be excluded from contributing towards that sales tax rebate. We're not proposing at this time to use any of the amusement tax that would be received primarily from the theater. The total projected payout to Westfield would be approximately $17 million over the term of the agreement. Based on our previous discussions, staff is requesting direction from the board as to whether to proceed with the negotiations with Westfield LLC to provide the necessary financial incentive pursuant to the terms stated herein, and to return back to the village board with a completed economic incentive agreement for further consideration at the next soonest meeting. And I can answer any questions that you may have.
Trustee Schultz?
The 17 million is based on the MPV, or the discount rate of 7.5%. Today's marketplace, that seems awful high to balance out where we're at right now at a percent or two, and then you'd need to assume hyperinflation during the period of time to come up with 7.5%. That seems a little high, but the bigger concern I have is that if we don't pay it out over the term, then the compounding will still go on, so that 17 million will turn into 19 million or something if it takes longer than the term. So I'd like to have a fixed number that will pay out at the end of it, and I really would like several opinions on the discount rate.
Well, I think with regards to extending it beyond the term, if we have to extend this, or they request to extend beyond the term, it means that they're not meeting their sales tax numbers.
Right.
So therein lies we won't reach the 17 million within that 10-year frame.
Well, no, the number is 9.41. It's just that we're using a discount rate of 7.5%, which is arbitrary. But also, if they don't meet it in the term, though, then that number is going to grow because the compounding will add additional years into the calculation. So I'd like, A, to have several opinions on the discount rate, and B, to have a fixed number at the end of the term, what is owed. And if they don't make it in that term, though, that they're not getting the compounding, that they're just getting up to that number if it takes X number of years longer.
Larry, what say you?
Well, I know our retail consultant looked at that rate of return. I guess it's what it is a risk-adjusted premium, and he considered a reasonable rate of return for retailers, given the level of risk that they're taking. So it wasn't necessarily so much an inflation number as a rate of return requirement, and in his opinion, it was reasonable.
And his recommendation was what, to just carry it out through whatever the term is, if it takes longer than what we think.
I'm not sure if he explicitly recommended that or not. But
no, he didn't. I mean, it was there was no. He did not recommend a term per se. It was looking at the amount, was the requested amount reasonable? And as Larry said, the interest rate, whether that was reasonable is a part of the whole discussion. And the amount he felt was a reasonable request predicated on the size of the project and what was proposed.
Right. Yeah. Well, Trustee Cook?
I agree with Trustee Schultz on with regard to the additional years. I really would like to see us try to avoid that. I also, for a clarification, when you talk about Westfield getting the tax dollars on the Westfield square footage only, are we still talking on the increment only, or are we talking on ground zero, from every single dollar generated by those square feet?
We had actually looked at both, and what we're trying to do is solve using the existing square footage out there to try to get to that 9.4. So I would imagine it will likely go more towards what the existing number is right now being received, instead of just the increment. So we can't do it in 10 years.
So we probably can't set a floor, because if we go below the floor and are not giving the increment, then we're actually talking about real dollars that would be money we would be potentially spending elsewhere. I mean,
Correct.
I'm not totally against that, but I did like the proposal earlier that it would be incremental.
If you do incremental, what it means is there's going to be more years on the agreement. So if you use existing dollars, it does help to cut down the number of years in the term, and that seemed to be the consensus going along here. Let's cut down the numbers, and what we did was work towards solving that request, reduce the number of years in the term significantly.
So a zero floor then?
Well, we're working towards that.
Okay.
Trustee Markwart.
The amusement tax,
Mm-hmm.
is it exempt on the entire Westfield Mall, or theater, or
The entire.
the entire?
Yep.
So amusement tax would come to
Correct.
us, not go in as a part of the payout?
Correct.
Okay.
That might make up for part of the losing that's below the increment.
Trustee Williams.
As I believe Trustee Schultz said, I certainly don't want to go over the 17 million at the end of the period. I definitely like the 10-year, do not want to exceed that. And the inline existing also, or anything coming in on the inline will be included, or not included?
Well, again, to meet the 10-year max on the term, some of that would be included. So you would be talking about existing sales tax coming to the village.
Okay.
And again, that would be only on those properties that would be owned by Westfield. And we're working on how to define that property and how to narrowly define it to work within certain parameters that are established by state regulations
I know, we were
on
having
making
problems
those.
with that the last time we met on it. Okay, thank you.
There any other comments or questions?
So the consensus is go.
Well, I would hope.
Go with our
Yeah,
comments in mind.
Yeah, I'd like to see some of the numbers though before we, and if we can establish any kind of a floor, I'd like to do that too.
Using the discount rate, though, the discount rate should only be used as the discount rate. So therefore, if they need to meet 17 million over a 10-year period, and the discount rate is more reasonable at 4 or 5%, then they should be asking for 12 million or 13 million up front, and so that they still get their 17 over the 10-year period. It's just that I don't like trying to solve the equation by fitting for X when X should be a given.
I agree. X is a given.
It's just better for transparency.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Is there anything the petitioners want to add to that, or we?
Really, it's direction from you all, and
Okay.
then we'll go talk with them and work through it. So.
Okay.
Yeah, by all means, do it post haste so that we don't slow down the.
Sure.
I mean,
No, keep going.
I want to get it.
Okay. Thank you.
Start
Thank you.
building.
Okay.
Well, hold on. Yeah. You don't want to comment?
Well, I mean, the revenues, the revenue generated by the new development is a large portion of how we will repay this request. Again, we will be reviewing other sources of revenue from the existing sales tax that's being generated currently from a defined area within the mall to again help offset this request. So those are the two primary sources of revenue that will again be applied to this development. And the question will be is how much and what areas are defined from which that revenue will come from.
Yeah, and basically we're talking, what, about 90,000 square feet?
Well, the new addition is about 65.
What's that?
The new addition is about 65.
Does that include Dave & Buster's?
No, that's existing square footage, and
okay.
Dave & Buster's is about 40,000 square feet.
Okay.
And
So that already exists.
Correct.
Yeah, because what sites are they going to use for that?
Well, it's the Glow Golf or the old Sam Goody space, Delia's, the former Build-A-Bear, and I think there's another one or two spaces adjacent to that too.
Okay. All right, so essentially, in the theater's actually what? Is that 40 or 50,000 square feet? Is it?
Yeah, about that size. Yep. About.
Okay. All right, Trustee Cook.
The ink has dried on the deal with AMC? Okay. Do you have any other names you could share with us or news you could share with us? Or?
Obviously, Dave & Buster's was here, obviously, the meeting before.
Come on up.
Yeah.
We'd like to hear your voice.
Yeah. No, the Dave & Buster's we've got, and AMC, anything?
We're continuing to talk to the restaurants that we've got on the first floor. Don't have any names to announce yet.
You want to state your name for the record so everybody knows?
John Genovese.
We know what she needs.
Okay.
But we actually have the big leasing conventions coming up in Las Vegas, so it's a time that we get to meet with a lot of tenants. So we're going to be out talking about those spaces, and actually the fact that we have those signed leases, as you pointed out to me before, this has been something that's been going on for years. Believe me, tenants tell us the same thing. So now that we have those signed leases, we can say we're actually moving forward. We've got our plans in.
Right.
You know, we have a schedule that we're looking at. So that's all very helpful to try to conclude those final deals that we need to make.
That's great.
Okay. All right, and so you'll continue to work with staff germane to the rebate agreement. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, Trustee Hebda.
As we negotiate with you on this agreement, I'm going to ask that you go all out in making sure that you make those empty spaces filled for the mall. I'm hoping that you're committed to making sure that this is a #1 mall, because we've waited and we've waited and we've waited, and we've seen Westfield in Old Orchard and we've seen Westfield out in Indiana. So I'm asking for your commitment too, as we go forward with this, that you put forth the effort too, which I'm hearing you're doing, that you continue to do that, because there's been some nice things that have come in, but we want to see more so that we can bring those sales tax dollars back to our community, and that it can be a premier mall in this area. So I ask for that commitment on your part as we also look to this agreement.
We'd be happy to do that, and obviously, the 2 leases that we got executed, those are
important. Sure.
That helps build it.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Okay, is there any new business or communication to come before the board? No? Okay. Is there a motion to adjourn the board meeting to go into committee of the whole?
So made.
Second?
Motion and a second. There will be a closed session for litigation.
Only litigation.
Only litigation, but that'll be after the committee at all, and we won't come back out and conduct any business. Okay, there's a motion, a second. Roll call, please.
Trustees Williams? Hebda?
Aye.
Cook?
Aye.
Markwart?
Aye.
Schultz?
Aye.
Schwartz?
Aye.
Motion carries. All right, I'd like to call the committee the whole meeting to order. First item is approval of committee of the whole minutes of April 16th, 2013. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Motion is second. Any comments or questions? Okay, roll call.
Trustees Schultz?
Aye.
Schwartz?
Aye.
Williams?
Aye.
Hebda?
Aye.
Cook?
Aye.
Markwart?
Aye.
Motion carries. Okay, first item is Dillons Estates, consideration of report and recommendation from the Planning and Zoning Commission regarding request for preliminary and final approvals of Dillons Estates being a plat of consolidation of lots 21, 22, 23, and Riviera Estates. Property is located on Dillons Court in Greg's Landing.
Thank you, Your Honor. Representatives appeared before the Planning and Zoning Commission on May 1st to request preliminary and final approval of the Dillons Estates being a plat of consolidation of the 3 lots in the Riviera Estates. Petitioner is proposing to construct a new home which will cross the 3 lots in Riviera Estates. To allow this, the lots must be combined into a single lot of record, and existing drainage and utility easements must be vacated or abrogated and reestablished along the perimeter of the lot. In your packet is a copy of the site plan showing the new residence along with the plat itself. The home will be approximately 11,000 square feet in size and will have a pool and sports court along with a large outdoor patio area. You will also note on the plan that there are 3 driveway cuts that are shown for this newly consolidated lot. We'll talk about that in the next item, under item 3. The only thing I would note is the development ordinance only allows a maximum of 2 cuts per single family, per single lot. Mike Atkinson will talk to you a little bit about the driveway portion of this. I'm going to focus on the plat of subdivision. The commission had some questions with regards to the sports court and whether it was permitted to have lights. We're going to review this, but we also encourage them to reach out to the Greg's Landing North Homeowners Association to determine whether there are any covenants or restrictions that might prohibit said lights on the property. Overall, the commission was supportive of the request as shown and voted 3 in favor, 1 against, to recommend preliminary and final approval of the Dillons Estates being a plat of consolidation of lots 21, 22, and 23 in Riviera Estates, subject to the 3 conditions that are in your packet. I will note that one of those conditions would be to place a restriction on the plat which would prohibit any further subdivision of the property once it's consolidated. Village Attorney Kenny will need to review that language. Copies of the plan and the plat are in your packet. And if you feel that this request is appropriate, it would be the staff's recommendation that you direct us to prepare the necessary ordinance to grant preliminary and final approvals of the Dillons Estates subdivision in Riviera Estates, subject to compliance with the conditions that are set forth in your packet. And I can answer any questions that you may have. The petitioner is also here, and they can answer questions with regards to the subdivision.
Trustee Schultz.
2 questions. Number 1, how big are the homes on 20 and 24 currently? Or are they built?
Probably approximately 4,000 square feet.
So this would be about twice as large, but over 3 lots. So
correct.
Scale-wise, it shouldn't impact those other 2 homes?
Well, they've actually pushed that house away from the property line to limit the impact on the adjacent homes. So I would say yes.
Okay, and then point 2 is the HOA. Any feedback from them, or they schedule an architectural review meeting or anything?
The HOA has already approved the architecturals for the house. They've also approved the pool and the gazebo. And as John said, we're still working through a thorough review of the sports court and lighting.
Trustee Schwartz.
So there's a particular buyer for this home that they're building this
Yes,
one?
the Eckrotes.
And then the two houses on 20 and 24, are those, people are living in those homes
Yes,
right now?
owner occupied.
And they don't have a problem with this plan, or?
There's not been anything expressed. I mean, there's been questions, and I believe that the Eckrotes and/or their architect have had some conversations with regards of what was going on the 3 lots.
What's this back up to? Does it back up to the park?
Yes, and the golf course.
In the golf course.
Okay, so it's kind of on that same cul-de-sac that.
It's immediately south of the Manhard residence. On the cul-de-sac, a couple of the lots face the Lake Charles and one faces the golf course.
Okay. Well, that's nice.
It's very nice.
Yeah, okay. Any other further comments or questions on this?
Motion to direct staff to prepare the necessary ordinances in accordance with the conditions, especially the sports court.
And the lights.
Oh,
Right.
Yes.
Was the sports court for the father or for the kids?
Depends on who you're talking to.
Both.
Okay. Yeah, I guess when you talk sports court, you don't want a horror show like we had with
Yes.
Another part of town.
a certain person who, lived in a much, I guess more restricted area. And
there were lights.
he was doing the 100-mile-an-hour pitching machine that was described as me as when it hit the canvas, it sounded like a shotgun going off.
Yeah.
He did make CNN. So anyway, just take that under advisement, okay? All right. We got a motion and a second?
No.
Got a motion?
Motion.
Nope. Second.
Motion and a second. Any further comments or questions? Roll call.
Trustee Schwartz?
Aye.
Trustee Williams?
Aye.
Hebda?
Aye.
Cook?
Aye.
Markwart?
Aye.
Schultz?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Gee, this is
Well,
So first one.
okay.
well, then the next item is
Yeah.
in regards to the 3 driveway cut request, and Michael will review that with you.
As John had stated, the development ordinance limits the number of curb cuts to 2. If someone wanted to have more than 2 curb cuts or driveway entrances, that would require special approval from the village board. Also, as John had indicated, in anticipation of this request, we asked that language be put on the plat of consolidation that would prohibit any further subdivision of the lot. And that's important because it would be possible to do that on the eastern portion of the lot and still subdivide that off, build another house, and still comply with the lot width and area requirements. With that restriction, that's still going to be reviewed by the village attorney, that could no longer happen. So the end result is these 3 lots where we would have anticipated 3 driveway approaches, 1 for each lot, is now going to be 1 house instead of 3 houses, but still with the 3 driveway approaches. So we don't have any net gain of driveway approaches. But again, for this to happen, the village board would have to grant special approval. There's a site plan that shows the location of the driveway entrances attached to your packet. And if the board feels that 3 driveway approaches is appropriate, then staff should be directed to prepare an ordinance allowing the 3 curb cuts subject to the conditions that are outlined in your packet.
Okay. Trustee Williams.
Well, it looks like the one driveway, if I'm looking north, I don't know which way I'm looking at this plat, but if I'm looking north, the one at the northern side of the picture probably goes into a garage area.
That's correct. It goes into a side-load garage.
And the other 2 is actually a horseshoe.
Correct.
Coming in, and it's a circle in front.
Yes.
So it's not going 3 driveways going helter-skelter all over the property.
That's correct.
Okay. I don't have a problem with it.
Trustee Cook.
In addition to which, you're right, because it fits, if you go out there and look at the location.
Yes.
The houses to the north and west have 3 driveways that are probably actually closer together or as close together as these 3. And so it won't change the characteristic of the neighborhood at all. In addition to which, that isn't exactly an area that I would call high traffic.
Agreed.
You know, you'd get bored to death doing a car count out there. I mean,
Probably not.
so I don't see a problem with it.
I don't know, I went there to put a.
We're not going to try to take a
Trustee
bus in
Schultz.
The only question I got is, how are you going to preclude this? Or I guess, reverting back, if they wanted to re-subdivide again, then what was the issue? I didn't quite understand where you were going with that. That the village board would need to take what action in the future if they decided to demolish the house, or?
Well, if they demolish the house, then someone either could leave it as a single lot, or they could come back and try to establish it as a 3-lot subdivision.
Okay.
What that would do then is undo all the approvals that you're giving them. So it would go back to 1 driveway cut. You know, I mean, the way it's configured, it really makes sense, 1 driveway cut per lot.
Right.
And going forward from there. And what we're trying to do is preclude that from happening into the future, so.
But if they demoed it, then, or you're saying that you'd never, even if the house, I mean, I'm just really out there with this, but if they go broke, whoever owns this, and they decide they can't keep it up and it goes into disrepair and it gets demolished, it still is basically a plot of land that someone could come back and ask for a replatting of it, and then they'd need to request
They could do
separate
that.
curb cuts.
Absolutely, they could do that.
Okay.
25 for, it's 28 for.
Okay, any other comments or questions?
What do you need from us, John?
We'd need a motion directing staff to prepare an ordinance approving 3 driveway entrances for this
So
property.
move.
Second.
Motion is second. Roll call.
Trustees Williams?
Aye.
Hebda?
Aye.
Cook?
Aye.
Markwart?
Aye.
Schultz?
Aye.
Schwartz?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you.
Who's doing the dog pet hotel?
That would be me.
It's a
I think while the
ADOGO.
ADOGO Pet Hotel.
Very nice.
They are looking to occupy 500 North Fairway Drive, which is the building directly south of the Glacier Ice Arena, and planning to locate a new upscale pet business which would offer boarding, daycare, grooming, and training services. This business is based out of Minnetonka, Minnesota, and they have identified Vernon Hills as a highly desirable area to expand into. What they're planning to do is convert the existing 1-story building into a combined daycare boarding facility. The building, which was formerly used by a contractor as an office warehouse and also a child's recreation business, is fairly open inside. They're planning to, ADOGO is planning to remodel the interior space to create indoor play areas, grooming, training areas, and a kennel room which can house overnight a maximum of 100 pets based on the current layout of the building. Also, the existing loading areas, which are on the west side of the building, would be converted to outdoor play areas. Parking on the site is adequate at about 47 spaces. There's more information with regards to this. I will note for your information that the zoning ordinance of the village and Exhibit E of the Continental Executive Park Annexation Agreement, which is also zoning provisions for the park. In both of those documents, pet boarding and daycare are not specifically listed as either permitted or special uses in either document. However, Exhibit E allows the village board to make a determination that a use is similar and compatible with the uses listed in Exhibit E and the zoning ordinance. And in this case, both the zoning ordinance, the zoning ordinance actually allows for pet shops, animal hospitals, and clinics as special uses. The zoning ordinance allows also lists daycares, and recreational fitness facilities for children as special uses. Now, I'm not trying to equate children to pets per se, but what they're proposing in terms of a daycare type operation are very similar to what a child's daycare may be. Some of those parallels can be drawn, I think, you know, to the uses. And what we're suggesting is that if you feel this is appropriate, that it be considered as a special use permit as it moves forward. We would also obviously ask that the petitioner would contact the Continental Executive Park Property Owners Association for review and comment prior to any kind of formal consideration by the Planning and Zoning Commission.
Who are the neighbors adjacent to this?
Well, to the north is actually the detention basin and parking and Glacier, and to the south was Mitsubishi. I'm trying to remember who's now.
Oh, is this Hide Breeders building?
Yes, it is.
Okay.
Absolutely. So, so, and he's, I don't believe, part of the picture anymore. So, so in your packet you have site plan and floor plan, photos related to the business. The petitioner's here. He can answer any questions. He's also got a little bit of a presentation if you'd like for him to go through with it.
Well, who is the petitioner?
John Sturgis. He's right in the front row there.
Yes, please.
No time like the present.
Good evening, everyone. Bear with me 1 second. I'm going to load up a quick presentation.
Is Lake Minnetonka near you, Minnetonka?
Lake Minnetonka, it's the western suburbs of Minneapolis.
Is there a lake there?
There's Lake, I'm sorry, it is Lake Minnetonka, yes. And
are those international waters?
They could be. It's the largest lake in.
Well, that's what the Minnesota Vikings thought it was.
No, you don't want to get in a Bears-Vikings.
No, not at all. I mean, you know.
The Vikings did get caught on a boat there, but
I believe I read about that, you know. But the one guy said he was in international waters. It was a classic comment.
Yes.
We're in international waters. We can gamble out here. Okay, great. Okay.
I think he's retired, Your Honor. So
yeah.
Statute of limitations run out on him.
Yeah, I don't care. It doesn't matter. Okay, I digress. Go ahead.
All right.
Dogs are...
Here's a very quick video. It's about 60 seconds.
Okay.
Oh.
ADOGO Pet Hotel is a hotel for dogs offering services of boarding, grooming, training, and daycare. I've had customers and even the news refer to it as the W of pet hotels. Starting and running your own business is definitely daunting. There was so much to coordinate and make sure that you had in line. But being prepared, that builds your confidence. The Carlson Executive MBA program absolutely helped me with the skills to build this business that I'm extremely proud of. It was taking case studies and using the case studies with my business in mind, from the marketing side, from the finance side, from the PR side, from an entrepreneurial side. 6 months after I graduated, I really was taking that step to move forward with the business. I was extremely honored to win the Emerging Entrepreneur of the Year Award from the Twin West Chamber of Commerce. It validated where I am to this point. My Carlson MBA was an absolute integral part of this business plan. I refer back to the things I learned in the program every day. My name is John Sturgis, and I'm a graduate of the Carlson School of Management's Executive MBA program.
So I just wanted to show you a quick video to give you a taste of what you did see there was some of the outdoor area. You saw a little bit of the indoor. I'm also going to very quickly show you some more photographs. One of the things I wanted to show you here is the pet industry is the 7th largest industry in the United States. There are 80 million dogs in the United States. We estimate there are about 100,000 dogs in Lake County. It is we believe in this area that about at least 38% of the families, that nationally it's 36 to 38% own a dog. So dogs, I mean families, individuals don't treat their dogs, their pets like especially the dogs, like their pets anymore. They treat them like their kids. And when you talk about daycare, I don't know how many of you own dogs, but a lot of people say, well, daycare, are you kidding me? Daycare is a huge part of this business. And this facility will be run like a professional hotel. It is absolutely no kennel. And I come from the human hotel business, 23 years in the human hotel business, operating and developing hotels. So I wanted you to see this, the growth, where this is one of the few industries that's continued to grow by $2 to $3 billion a year since 2008 when the economy took the hit that it has. What we are is we are daycare, grooming, boarding, training. And once again, 2 of the news stations and several other people have called us the W or the West End of pet hotels. What we want to be is, even though I mentioned Westin, our goal is to be consistent in the same way that Marriott's consistent. And certain differentiators, certain things we offer, such as webcams where you can watch your dogs, such as the way I have the service level. We don't have people running all over the place. We actually have a very strict, very disciplined service where love or hate Marriott, Marriott's known for great service. So you know what you're getting. And my point here is the communication we have, the methodology and the processes we have working this. It isn't just a bunch of dogs running around. It's a very disciplined process we have. This kind of gives you a taste of some of the things we do. This is a rendering of a doggo. The next photo I'm going to show you is what we look like over Christmas. And once again, that was also an existing building. We put this up. It looked great. People love it. People really have made great comments to us about how they think it's really been an improvement to the community. And I will tell you, the western suburbs of Minneapolis are, I believe, a mirror, and I'm from Chicago originally, even though I live in Minneapolis, are a mirror of the northern suburbs. And I can go suburb to suburb. Edina, I don't know how many of you know the western suburbs, know Minneapolis. Edina is very much like Highland Park, and Lake Forest is very much like Deep Haven or Wayzata. And on and I can go on and on and on, naming Vernon Hills is very much like Minnetonka, okay?
Without the lake.
Without the lake. Well, you have a little bit big. You have a bigger lake, a little bit bigger lake.
We talked about putting a casino on a display.
Yeah, right. Okay. I don't need a geography lesson though on
gotcha. Okay.
Where you're from.
This is the lobby. So this is our front desk. Just so you know, in this business, our customer, our demographic is female, 25 to 60. When it comes to children, when it comes to leisure travel, and when it comes to pets, women make the decision. And what we are hearing, and I've researched this for 10 years, in the 23 years I was in the human hotel business, as I call it now, what we've learned is that a lot of these so-called pet hotels or so-called kennels that have opened over the last 10, 15 years, they're in the back of a warehouse somewhere. They're in an area that's dark and dingy because they get lower rents. My model, my business model is I want to be out there in the community. Okay, and we're extremely active in the community. This is what our lobby looks like. There will be some similarities. One thing I will tell you about ADOGO, it's not cookie cutters. You're not going to get the same thing, but we will have specific touch points, such as you see the ADOGO logo behind the desk. That will be at every one of the ADOGO properties.
I'm going to ask Jan, is there any open space around this building for the exercise yard or anything, or is it all?
Well, they're planning to convert the existing loading areas outside the building to those exercise areas.
What loading?
Well,
on the side?
On the back side of the building.
On the back side?
Yep.
Okay. I mean, it's contiguous then to Glacier.
Correct.
Okay, so that would be kind of a long rectangle.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
And which is very similar to what I have in Minnetonka. The space is absolutely adequate. And what's great about the Vernon Hills building is you have 2 garages, which will have the fences around it. Those will go right out. What's so important with what I do is the flow and how we move dogs and how we keep the dogs safe.
What's the square footage of this building?
This building is 16,875 square feet.
Is that the whole building?
It's the whole building, yes, sir. Not including the outside for the daycare.
Okay, so you're going to, what, gut it kind of?
Well, some of it, yes, but in the front, the way we have the offices, on the, I guess, the right side of the building where there's existing office, they did a really good job. We're going to take a lot of that, put our touch points into that, and not change some of it. Where you have the open area, where you had the kids' play area, that is wide open. It's like a warehouse.
Yeah, that's right.
We'll put some daycare in one, and we'll put 3 daycares in there, plus the boarding. It lays out perfectly for what I want to do.
So the plan is to get rid of the drive behind the building and turn it into grass? And
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And what we do is we use what's called canine grass. Canine grass, it looks like turf, but it's antibacterial. It doesn't, it's the best. It's a little bit more expensive, but you pay for it because, or you want to pay for it because the dogs, we have limestone underneath it. So in other words, when a dog urinates, that goes into that limestone. We clean it off every day, but it goes into the limestone and it dissipates. That's all part of the process. And if I had the grass with me, I could show you, but it's unlike any other turf you have where urine could get compacted in here. In ours, it goes right through into the limestone and dissipates. As far as, and I'll just bring it up because I'm sure I'll get a question, as far as the stool's concerned, the poop's concerned, we pick that up right away. It goes in the baggies. The baggies then go into dumpsters. Okay? So,
yeah, okay.
Okay. This is what one of our indoor daycares look like, this photo here. This is what our outdoor looks like. So on the bottom left-hand side, we have two areas outside. The bottom left, you see we have the fountain. One of the things we differentiate ourselves, we have a couple competitors that have pools. We put fountains. We kind of call that our Bellagio, but that's our fountains. On the right-hand, bottom right-hand side, that's more of the little dog area, and we separate the dogs based on size and temperament. This is one of the ADOGO suites.
I love the bed.
Now, I will tell you, this is one suite. Our rooms aren't all like that.
Every dog is a flat screen?
Well, they can, but we have one of those.
Is it HD? No.
Well, the TV is HD, yes, yes. This is our training room. And a couple things, guys. I only am showing two of these. We've won about a dozen awards. We're now the market leader. There are actually 50-plus facilities in Minneapolis, St. Paul, that will house dogs. And most of them are nothing against this, because there's absolutely a marketplace for it. Most of them are what I call, if you look at human hotels, Motel 6 of this business, where we're at, as I said, more of a Westin Marriott type. So the reason I wanted to show you this one was we work very close within the community. Not everything we purchase by any means is local, but we try to go local as much as we can. What I mean by that, so Sojo's is a local treat we sell. We minimize what we sell. We sell one treat company, retail it, and some beds and things. We try to stay local that way. This is our shuttle. Yes, we do have a shuttle, so if you're bored, if your dogs are staying overnight, we'll come get your dog, bring the dog back. There's a cost to that. I wanted to show you the branding. We're very crisp in our branding. I come from the hotel business once again. I come from branding, understand that. Extremely crisp. We want people, when they see it, it's Century Gothic, a specific color, as they call it, the PMS color. We have the specific color. We don't just throw anything out. So the branding has to be very consistent. And events. And then also the community. For example, when I showed you the events, as I buzzed through it, we're the preferred pet hotel of the Arboretum. I have my graduate degree, my MBA from the University of Minnesota Carlson School. University of Minnesota is part of this Arboretum. So we're very involved with that, where we're the preferred pet hotel. We're the preferred pet hotel of all the local Lifetime Fitnesses. We will be very involved with Lifetime Fitness here also. And then in the community. Anywhere from the squirt hockey, where you see our names on their jerseys, to we do a ton in the local community. I'm on the board of Can Do Canines, which is in the local area. I'm also on the board of University of Minnesota's Carlson School of Business. And then the last thing here is the rewards program. We just started a rewards program. This is what we'll have, this rewards program at all the hotels. This will be our second one. If I didn't make that clear, this is our second. But we are doing things where people feel like, people walk into our place, the first thing they say, wow, they feel like I'm in a boutique hotel. Mm-hmm. And then it's like, wow, you have certain services. Most of this, well, majority of the rewards program, just like most of them, the money then comes back to us. So you get a point per dollar, and with that point per dollar, you can use that back at ADOGO. The other things we're working on right now is you get certain savings within the local market. If you're part of this program in Minnetonka, for example, you get a 15% savings if you join the membership of the Arboretum. We're working with.
Let me, hold on a second. Council, under the exhibitor Jan, under the existing exhibit in the business park, okay, can we approve this? Is it still going to have to go through a P&Z?
Oh, yeah.
P&Z? Okay.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So, at what point does Bob do his disclaimer for us?
Well, as soon as you're ready.
Yeah, I'm ready right now. So, I mean, I don't have a problem with this. I don't know if anybody does. So, Trustee Schwartz, Sanders, do you care?
I don't have any problem with it.
Mike?
All I had a question was in regards to outdoor for when you bring a dog, the barking dog. That's the only thing I'm looking at. So,
a couple of things. There will be some noise from barking. The dogs, well, a couple things that we do. First of all, when we have sound absorption panels. I don't have Actually, well, I had one in here, but I won't go back to it. But we have some sound absorption. The fencing is 8 foot high. So what'll happen is that when we put the sound absorption, it looks like a plastic material, kind of like a mat you'd have, a football mat, about that thick, and it absorbs. Now, it's not going to catch all of it, but most of it, realizing the dogs are this high, the fences are this high. Some can bounce off of the building, okay? That's one of the things you have to look at. But from that high going into the fencing, it'll capture a lot of that. The other thing is, if you know the building, a majority of that building faces the skating rink. There's going to be more noise in the skating rink than my dogs.
They're not going to hear you in the skating.
No, they're not.
Well, and that's my point is that if if there were complaints, it would be more from the skating rink. And I will tell you where the potential complaints could come from, people not used to it. We've had one complaint at Minnetonka. And he said to me, I went over and I talked to him, and he said, and this building's much closer than the skating rink, by the way. And it was more of an office building. He goes, John, I just wasn't used to it. I will tell you what we do is typically from noon till 4, well, it could be as late as 7, quite honestly, but from noon to 4 is the majority of the dogs are outside. And the reason for that, at 4 o'clock, our dogs that are boarding then go to their rooms, which are inside. But in a nice day, dogs could be out up until 7. We do take the dogs out one last time for a bathroom break at about 8 o'clock. And that's in, out. Past 9 o'clock, we'll never have a dog outside. So if anybody, there aren't any apartments around there, so I wouldn't be worried about that. That's how we do it.
How about the morning?
Ma'am?
How about the morning?
In the morning.
We take them out in the morning, Ms. Williams, at about 6:30 for a bathroom break, and then we bring them back in, and then we keep them inside most of the time. There would be an opportunity, if there aren't any issues, we will take them. What I mean issues is, we would want to take them outside in the morning.
Yeah, okay.
Your Honor?
Trustee Schultz, and then...
Just a couple of points. Number one, I understand this is a growth industry. I know I've got friends downtown that avail themselves of the service downtown, and so I can see this becoming something. And it really looks like you've got a good location. The only question I've got is are we reaching market saturation? Because we just put whatever it's called, PetSmart. PetSmart has a service not quite the same as yours, but similar, and just curious about that.
My answer is I don't believe so. Some people might disagree with me, but I think if you look at the numbers, you don't know the exact number of dogs because some of them are registered, some of them are not, but an estimate of 100,000 dogs. For us to be successful, we'll probably need to have about 60 dogs per day, okay? Now, once again, lesser dogs, less labor cost, there's certain fixed and variable costs, but PetSmart, for example, well, first of all, the competitive side of me says we have an outdoor area. We are more of you're going to a spa, and the person bringing a dog is going to want to come to us for boarding and daycare. PetSmart does not have an outdoor area. And for example, if you all felt, and I'd respect that, if you felt we can't allow you to have an outdoor area, I couldn't do it. An outdoor area is a differentiator, and it's something I have to have for what ADOGO is about. But PetSmart is a big box retail, and it's more about selling this and that. They got into the boarding side of it because there's money to be made. It is a competitor, but we're different. PetSmart would be like going, like I said, to, I don't know what the brand is, but we're different. We're more of going to a spa or a Westin. What's neat about us is you come to us for boarding, you come to us for training, you then come to us for daycare. We're a one-stop shop.
And again, you're in a good location, so I don't have a problem with the outdoor aspect, so.
Thank you.
Engineer Brown.
I'm familiar with Minneapolis and that area. Some of the things that we're concerned with, or I'm concerned with, because it's right next to a detention pond, one of the requirements that the village has is we're a MS4 operator. We own storm sewers. So whatever is going into that detention pond also gets irrigated through the whole business park. So I know what you've said in terms of the synthetic grass or whatever grasses you're using and limestone on top of it. In our area, we have very, very tight clay soils. I know in the Minneapolis area you have sandy soils. So I just want you to look into that very closely. We obviously want to make sure the movements of the dog are handled correctly and it's not running off into the water. So that's just one thing I wanted to share with the board. Thank you.
You said you're,
Yeah, go,
you
trustee.
said you were you're dedicated to service and being a spa, if you will, compared to the Western. Is somebody there at night?
There is not, purposely.
Okay.
What we do is, and this has come up, our business is growing by, I mean, it's incredible, the growth right now. To answer your question, just visualize the dogs are sleeping, because we don't have dogs running around at night. They're all in their rooms. Okay? The facility, if I do it like Minnetonka, which there's no reason why I believe I won't, will be open for the consumer from 7 to 7 Monday through Friday and 9 to 6 Saturday and Sunday. And that's for the customer, the two-legged customer. Then once the dogs, once we close our doors, our dog care specialists are typically there until 8:30, 9 o'clock, depending on how many dogs we have. It could be 9:30. They're there to make sure the dogs are put in their rooms. And then we have a security system, all right, that I put in at Minnetonka. I have to confirm what the specific security system is here, but it'll be very secure and so on. But we purposely don't do this. Why don't we do that? If I have someone stay at the facility, why would they be there? Well, they'll be there to check on the dogs. If they go to check on the dogs, you wake up one dog, you wake them all up. Now, the counter argument, and I've heard it from some customers, yeah, but if a fire or this or that, and sure, something could happen, okay? But what is that person really going to be able to do? If we have 60 people, they're getting one dog or two dogs if something happens, we just keep a very safe environment. It makes business sense, and it also, from a service level, makes service sense. We don't need someone past the time that the dog care people take care of the dogs.
Thank you.
Okay. All right, there's no other comments or questions for the petitioner. Village Attorney Kenny, you want to explain the process?
Yes, you're here for concept review, and you're getting a consensus, at least some preliminary input from the board, but none of it is binding. And if you choose to go forward and through the process, the consensus you hear tonight is not binding at all on them. You could end up with an opposite perspective once they get the benefit of the full presentation. So this board doesn't flip-flop, but it is important that you know that it's not binding.
Get them out in 5 minutes.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you, John.
Okay.
Thank you.
Moving right along.
I got lost.
All right, next item is McDonald's USA presentation of concept plans for proposed site plan architectural landscape changes to their restaurant located at the intersection of Town Line Road and Milwaukee Avenue. You guys want to come forward?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. While they're setting up, I can give you a brief summary. The site is in its current condition was originally approved by the board in 1987. The McDonald's, the petitioner, is now requesting to amend the site plan, do a facade renovation, and amend the special use permit that allows the drive-through facility by allowing a second drive-through lane, so it would be a side-by-side lane. Again, they're also doing a facade renovation. They'll be installing new signage. There's a couple of small variations that are in connection with that. Also, they're doing some landscape updates and some renovations to the parking lot. I'll let the petitioner go into the detail for all of these. The main thing, though, really is the side-by-side drive-through lane. It's currently located on the south side, the menu boards, and those will be moved to the west side of the building, and that's where the double drive-through lanes will be located. They'll install 2 new menu boards there, 32 square feet in compliance with the sign code, and they'll increase the stacking ability in those drive-through lanes to a total car capacity of 17. The sign variations then, I'll give you a little summary on that. On the north elevation, they're going to ask for a variation to have 2 wall signs. The 2 signs combined would be less than the 44 square foot, which is the maximum allowable area for the signage on that facade. The sign on the east side compliance with the sign code. And then the other variation would be for the 2 logos. Each logo is 10.75 square feet rather than the maximum permitted size of 4 square feet. So that's just a brief summary. With that, I'll let the petitioner go into more detail about the design concept of it, and they can answer any questions that you might have.
No time like the present, guys.
Okay, sorry. Fred Mathias, I'm the architect, and this is our counsel.
Ruben Warshawski, I'm also for Dillons Estates counsel for McDonald's.
And who owns the place?
None of us.
Oh, is it corporate?
No. It's an operator. Ken Norgan.
Norgan? Okay.
He's in the Bahamas, right?
I'm Jeff Miller with Watermark Engineering. We did the site planning, landscaping, and engineering for the facility. And I'll start out.
You guys want to use the handheld mic, whatever you're comfortable with, but.
Is this good?
It works for you as long as we can hear you.
Okay. The plan you see on the screen here is the aerial of what's out there today. And what we're proposing to do is, as Mike explained, this is an as-built of the site plan. This is the overall site plan that we're proposing to do. As you can see, most of the work, or all of the work, is happening right around the building. Presently on the west side of the building is parking on the far left, and then an aisle, and then parking near the building with a drive-through lane. What we're proposing to do is to eliminate all the parking along the west side and provide the dual side-by-side, we call it, drive-through lane. The nice feature about this is that, okay.
There's no drive-through.
The nice feature is that from this point back to the south, this whole area now is building operations and drive-through. Whereas before, on the west side of the building, we had parking and pedestrians that were crossing over through the drive-through to get to the building. So we feel this is an overall improvement to the site and safety and circulation.
I agree.
The side-by-side does a couple things. McDonald's, 70% of the McDonald's business is through the drive-through, and so they want to make that as efficient as possible. They found that the slowest point in the whole process was taking the orders, so now they've doubled up on that. To kind of simply put it, and they're able to take double the number of orders and therefore make the whole process more efficient. From this point here, where you enter the drive-through to you exit, there's approximately 3 more vehicles that can stack in that area. So that not only helps the efficiency, the number of cars that they can accommodate, but it also provides more stacking built into the whole system. You know, the nice thing is when the primary lane, you got a car there that's a van load of soccer players, and they've got 10 orders to take, and so that's very frustrating. So then you have an option to bypass it. If you decide you want to bypass it altogether, you're going to have a bypass lane with the existing driveways that are still going to stay. So in a nutshell, that's what the side-by-side does. In this particular site, it's quite the science on how they lay it out geometrically. Presently, there's the 2 menu boards are right here on the south side of the building, up against the back wall. Those will be removed, and then those order points are here and here now on the west side of the building. So again, the west side of the building becomes the drive-through predominantly, and then the parking lot out here stays predominantly untouched. I believe we're seal coating and restriping the whole lot, and then we're enhancing the landscaping quite a bit. Our landscape designer has walked with staff to back up to that. I probably should have stayed there. I just want to go to the landscape plan real quick. We went out with staff during our as-built of the landscape in the whole area per staff's request. And then we made an appointment to walk it to verify what's there, what needs to be updated, maybe some weak spots and then so forth. So we're going to take this opportunity to fill those in and then provide a significant amount of landscaping then in around the building and in the drive-through area that we're impacting. We've added quite a bit of new landscape area over here where the parking used to be, and we're enhancing that quite a bit to create a buffer between that and the ring road of the shopping center. This sets in the northeast corner of the shopping center at the southwest corner of Route 60 and Milwaukee. So I think everybody's probably familiar with where their McDonald's is. We are also providing to meet ADA criteria. We're updating the site ADA as well as the building ADA accessibility, and that's what this is a sidewalk out to the existing sidewalk along Milwaukee, so that we have that public access. So lighting, we're not impacting the lighting. We're not changing the light poles that exist. So that'll stay status quo, and I believe that covers the site work. If you have any questions, I've also provided some enlargements of the area that we're impacting for the drive-through to give you some more detail.
Just showed one.
The drive-through lanes are in concrete. The bypass lane is in asphalt, so there's a contrast there. So it's it pops when you enter it. You're able to see obviously where the drive-through facility is.
Trustee Cook.
Two things. One, I like the design. It's a much better system than the one that's currently there. I mean, the McDonald's in downtown Mundelein has this same split off 2 order stations, and it works far superior to when, I mean, the one they've got there now, the second one never works anyway. It always just tells you to move up to the first one. My one concern is, and it's going to take a while of educating people, signage at that southernmost entrance that is past the new ordering stations. People are used to diving in there and trying to get in line for the ordering when it's on the south side of the building. So there's going to have to be some kind of signage there that is very particular to the fact that there's no entrance to the drive-through at that point. You're either going to have to go all the way around the building or go further on. So that's just something to look at as you're putting that, redesigning that entrance. And I like the fact that you've taken out the safety problems of crossing those very few parking spaces that were there. It was always kind of dangerous crossing the entrance to the drive-through.
Well, yeah, okay. You'll only do that once. You'll miss it completely.
Yeah, but I mean,
Yes,
and you can put the biggest signs in the world, and there's still going to be people that'll drive by.
But what I'm saying is they can't get access. They can't get in line coming in that entrance anymore.
No. Correct, but I'd like to see some kind of signage that tries to discourage as many of the people as possible.
Like you said, we'll only do it one time.
Yeah, we have striped the pavement to show the drive-through, because when you enter there, you would have to go around the whole building. I agree with you. They'll do it once, and then they'll learn.
But, something like no more budding.
No more cutting?
Yeah, I mean, everybody, or cuts, no more cuts.
Yeah.
No more cuts.
Oh.
And on the next driveway to the north, that has the striping for the drive-through so that they can enter at the appropriate spot. But we can look into adding additional signage. I think we have existing directional signage that say enter and exit at that driveway. I can verify that. Thank you.
Okay, Trustee Hebda.
I'm not a fan of this right now.
What is it?
This.
The entry.
Oh, no?
Oh, no, I've got that one up too.
I'm not a fan of this. There's
ugly.
a way to redesign this. I feel like I'm going into a racetrack with the black and the yellow and the drive-through, and the order here and the order here. I just feel like it's a little
tacky.
Yeah, to say it mildly.
Well, come on, it's McDonald's, for God's sake.
It's still ugly.
Forest has a very nice McDonald's.
Use the right word. It's ugly.
Like
it
Forest
is
a very nice
Thank you.
McDonald's.
I'm sorry.
What do you mean they don't have these signs?
Well,
No, they don't.
They can make.
So the people just guess what they're gonna order?
No.
No, well, no, look at this. We're talking about this yellow stuff. It's like, bleh.
Yeah.
The overhead.
Yeah, I mean,
Okay.
I don't mind I just don't like the yellow and the clearance 9 feet and the order here, ugh.
Well, you could-
I've been to the one in Arlington Heights. I don't recall seeing this.
Is that a new updated, because I've been to the one up in Grays Lake and I haven't seen that there.
The one that's been in Arlington Heights for a long time.
This
Peloton
prohibits
and,
18-wheelers
Arlington Heights
from
Road.
going through, right?
There's a lot of things it does, yeah.
And
It,
9-foot clearances.
I don't think that.
Yeah.
I just, and I know, you know, I'm driving by there and I'm looking at Noodles and Company and all, and I come to you and there's, you're talking about landscape, but you're not talking about buffering it. You're just gonna make it look nice, and I'm still gonna see that stuff.
Yeah, because the building's beautiful, the way.
Yeah, the way you've got it.
Got that set up, it's gorgeous, but.
Is
that
there
would-
anything else you can do for me?
What?
Yeah,
Or
don't
for,
put them in.
Well, yeah,
the 3 ladies on the board are asking for some help.
Yes. And I'm here to help.
Good.
There are some things we can do. There's some things we'd like to keep. That's part of the canopy, for instance, protecting the car as you do the order. There's a lot of things like that bar that says order here.
See that?
We can get rid of
I
that
don't like it, but
and make that a lot cleaner looking.
I haven't either.
Like this one.
Like this one here.
I feel like I'm going through a gas station.
The
I'm sorry.
picture,
Does it have to be the bright yellow and black?
Yellow and.
well, we prefer that because
Well,
of
we don't.
McDonald's colors.
We don't like it.
Well, that's the McDonald's color.
I don't care. I still don't like it. I didn't like the big arches when they came in. They didn't put them in either.
What if they made the columns a brick material to match
You know,
the
I
building?
guess that's part of
Yeah.
it too.
Be very.
John,
And
yeah.
the canopy thing instead of yellow,
Yeah.
something else.
I wouldn't have a problem with that, but if that was brick,
Mhm.
that would
Look a little
change the whole
nicer.
look of it.
It might help it.
Yeah. I'll go brick and a white canopy.
There you go. Not with all this drive-through stuff
Yeah.
on it, though.
Or somehow, as you're looking at your designs here, you've got the stone facade.
Yes,
and
we've got the stone.
Yeah,
I
you-
think the
at least it'll
stone would look
blend in a
nice.
little bit.
You've got so much going on there that you're really telling your customers, you're an idiot, and so I'm going to tell you everything that is going on here. So let's
Don't
try-
mince words there, Jim.
Yeah,
Just spit it
so,
out.
You know, order here. I think you can figure out the screen and the little box. We all been talking into a little box since Jack in the Box brought them out in '68 or whatever.
Oh, my God.
No,
forgot
and I
about
think like we did in Deerfield, we also cleaned up that signage, so it was just the canopy alone.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that really simplified it.
It just seems like there's just so much going on there right now.
Right.
It's like,
What are you
whoa.
doing,
A lot of the communities have said that, and we've
what are
gotten
you
rid
doing
of
at the one in Lincolnshire
some.
on Milwaukee?
We're remodeling that one.
I know
Oh, yeah, oh, yeah.
Same thing.
Are you doing this?
But we're doing yes.
You're doing the
canopy
double
for that.
lanes
You're
and the
doing the
whole
double
bit
lanes
and
with
the
Yeah.
building and everything.
And they've got the canopies.
Have you brought this
They
to
do?
Lake Forest yet?
Lincolnshire approved
Done the
those?
Lake Forest one yet?
Not
That
yet.
would be fun.
Deerfield's fun. But,
I'm just throwing it out
Just
there.
trying to help.
so if I could be clear on what I got to bring back to McDonald's is, you would like to see not only the things I talked about gone,
Change those columns from white
but the white metal,
to stone.
you want stone, okay.
Mm-hmm.
And then can the canopy stay yellow, or is that a no?
No.
White would be nice.
A white,
White
like
would-
the column is?
Right,
Right.
right.
Okay.
Or black.
You probably,
How about
Like-
red?
No,
Oh, no.
Just a question.
white or black. I'll buy into black.
Okay.
It doesn't fall into the yellow for McDonald's.
Something that-
we would probably go white in it.
But
And I guess
we
I'd
don't want all
like to
that stuff
see
up
it
there.
Yeah.
before you.
Yeah,
go-
sure.
You can
We'd-
show
I'd
it
like to
in-
see it too. We've never
Yeah.
done it.
All right,
You can show it in
great.
yellow too, because I don't think I'm opposed to the yellow.
Yeah, I guess
Once
show-
we get
yeah.
the brick.
I am.
And the only other point I had was you've got some fairly mature vegetation. It looks like you're saving it, but I'm giving you a directive here. You will save anything that is a deciduous tree there or a reasonable facsimile thereof, because it really does kind of break the view of what you've got going on, and that view is going to get busier with this setup now, so.
The landscape plan, we're not eliminating any trees. The only time we would is if it's an emerald ash borer type of issue
Right.
or
Yeah.
something like that, or it's dying. We were working with staff on that.
Sure.
You know, that's happening all over the world.
Yep.
But, yeah, but otherwise, we were planning to leave all the mature, we're adding to, and then where we were tearing it apart, we're going to put all new. So, yeah, definitely.
Yep.
So you think this will increase sales?
Oh, yeah.
Double.
It has. It's,
Yeah, sure, okay.
the drive-through, people use it more because
For
it's
the
more,
convenience.
it's much more rapid. And so the other part of this, of course, is
Oh, yeah,
the exterior.
Yeah.
And what am I doing here? Arrow? Oops, I keep doing that.
Right there on the bottom left.
Time for the speech?
Hey.
Right.
So now they got three.
Well, there's one.
Oh, yeah.
That's where you go over. Okay, bear with me.
Do you plan to stay open during renovation? Do they plan to stay
Pardon me?
open? Do you plan to stay open during the renovation
Yes.
process? You can do that.
I'll go into the interior. This is existing floor plan. Basically, what's going to happen here is we're going to straighten the walls out because of the design we have. And all the interior ADA is being updated to the bathrooms and the vestibules.
Yeah.
This is
That's the front.
Does anybody have issues with the design of the exterior?
That's what I'm trying to get to now. That says east.
Okay.
Can you go to the exterior elevations, the color renderings for 'em, please?
Sure.
Would you point out, the top left, is that the east? What elevation is that?
It says front.
I've got this little one here, but it
Right,
doesn't
you're
tell me
correct.
anything.
The front, the.
That's the rear, that's the
one
west
to
or
the
the
left.
south?
Which way?
That's the west.
South, yeah.
It
South.
says front
Okay.
elevation, that is facing to the east.
Right.
That's
What
the east.
we're trying to do here is of course, you know, a new brand look for McDonald's, get rid of the older and make it more contemporary.
Maybe the north.
So we've taken the front that faces the main road, and this is what our arcade is. We call it the arcade, with a yellow canopy and a yellow roof element. Kind of what the canopies in back, why they are yellow, is they tie back into this.
The west side.
And we take the brick line up, and then we do ephes above that, and then we do a screen at the top. I bought kind of a sample of what it really looks like at 2 feet all the way around the building for the parapet. And the arcades itself are normally ephes, but we upgraded more to the cultured stone.
Oh, it's nice.
We think that looks much better.
Like that.
This is an actual example.
You see the.
And then, of course, we paint this building, both the existing brick and the ephes, to this new color scheme,
Faces to the north.
which also accents the drive-through. You can see it's got some striping in it and also accents the booth as you go through the drive-through. And I usually, because sometimes renderings don't tell you the truth, but this one's pretty close, I usually paint a little bit so you know that it's
This is the food.
a true color. That
this has to
that's
be
the
east.
striping, and this is the base color of the building.
This portion right here.
Nice.
Okay.
Faces to the east.
Does this board have any further questions for the petitioners? Okay. Next. Okay.
I'm still
No.
which elevation is facing Milwaukee? What do you see driving down Milwaukee?
Yes, yep.
The middle one on the right?
This one
Okay.
here.
And,
Just like it does there.
okay.
The second from the top on the right is facing Milwaukee.
And the one facing the road inside, the inside road,
I think he said it's the top left.
top left?
No, that's facing Milwaukee Road. That's the one.
Wait a minute.
Yeah.
The one with the windows or the Milwaukee side?
Left faces 60.
Nope.
Yes. Top left faces 60.
60, what faces
Top right
Milwaukee?
faces
No,
Kentucky
it
Fried
doesn't,
Chicken.
honey. The windows are on the east side.
Okay.
Below that
It's the
faces
This
The
way.
drive-through.
the mall.
This is the drive-through on the east.
Okay.
This is the west.
Yes,
Faces the parking lot
that's what I agree.
on Ring Road.
The ring road, yeah.
The ring road is the bottom one?
Right.
Okay.
What?
The ring road is the bottom one.
What faces 60? I'm sorry.
The top left.
Top left.
Top left.
Yeah, the only one that's going to be looking at an ugly face is Kentucky Fried.
There's a lot of vegetation.
Actually, that's.
Where are your trash enclosures gonna, are you moving those?
We stay with to the
They'll
east.
stay where they are?
Yeah.
Even the one that comes out over the drive-through, you've got an enclosure there
60, which is
that opens out to the drive-through, if you do a
Where
double.
the drive-through I thought was going to be in the original spot.
I'm sorry, I'm not.
Your trash enclosure, you've got one that faces the ring road.
one of these
Right.
is the ring,
So if you've got a double
Could be
drive-through,
this
how are you gonna get you're just gonna,
which is
We-
looking at Kentucky.
But we go back to the,
Down there.
back to the site plan. Right there?
There's the existing trash. enclosure.
okay.
And then, you know, the existing drive-through comes around like this now, and it'll still be there. It'll,
Right, there's
we're not,
two.
we're painting it, but we're not,
Okay.
sorry, we're painting it, but we're not modifying it at all.
Okay, I just want to get something straight. Your main entrance is kind of replacing the existing drive-through windows now?
They're still there.
Okay, so this will face, 60, your north elevation will be the finished McDonald's.
Right.
Okay,
On the top left.
okay.
There's the better.
East, all they put is.
Yeah, that would make sense, since you got your people that are walk-ins.
Are you looking to change your monument sign?
No.
Good.
All right, Bob.
I fought that battle many years ago. I don't want to do it again.
Okay. Anybody else have any further comments on this? Bob, you want to just explain to them what?
Sure, my message is the same as the case before, that this is just a concept review and it's not binding in any way on the village board. After you go through the hearing process, anything can happen, but it gives you a good initial reaction of how they feel.
Okay, guys.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Next is Vernon Hills Park District Maintenance Building. Consideration of report and recommendation from the Planning and Zoning Commission regarding the proposed maintenance building located at the north end of Century Park.
Thank you, Your Honor. Representatives from the Park District and Hesner Corporation appeared at the May 1st Planning and Zoning Commission meeting to consider the following items. First, approval to change the zoning classifications for a portion of the property from COS 1 to PIB, Public and Institutional Buildings District. 2, approval of special use permit to allow a public maintenance facility to be constructed along with certain variations, including but not limited to setback, signage, and parking requirements. 3, preliminary and final site and landscaping approvals. And 4, preliminary and final approval of the architectural elevations and signage plans. The petitioner presented the series of plans with regards to the proposed maintenance facility, which is located at the north end of Century Park. The new building will replace the existing maintenance building, which is currently located on Phillip Road. The proposed site is approximately 2 acres in size, and the building will be approximately 12,889 square feet in size. The height of the building will be 24 feet. There will also, the walls will be of precast concrete panels, and the project will provide outdoor storage for materials along with vehicles parking of 23 spaces on the property itself. Parking of the Park District maintenance vehicles will occur within the limits of the building. The site orientation of the property is east-west, running parallel with the railroad. Access to the proposed building is designed with a primary access coming from the existing driveway entrance to Century Park off of Indianwood. As you will recall, the village provided an intergovernmental agreement that allowed for the clearing of this area, that established the limits for this project. This work occurred during the winter, and if you visited the site, you can clearly denote where the location of the proposed building is projected to be. There's also a material storage yard, which would be on the west side of the building, which will contain storage bins for dirt, sand, gravel, and other materials that the Park District uses, both in the adjacent Century Park and also throughout their park system. No above or below ground fuel tanks are proposed on the property, and none is anticipated to be installed into the future. They also provided reviewed floor plans for the proposed location, along with vehicle storage within the building itself. And then finally, the exterior elevations of the building and landscape plans were also reviewed for the proposed location. This was a public hearing, and notices were sent out to the adjacent surrounding property owners. Notices were also posted within the Century Park condo buildings to alert residents of the proposed public hearing, along with a sign which was placed at the end of Indianwood, which also noticed the meeting for the location. At the public hearing, 5 residents appeared before the commission to speak against the petition. Collectively, the residents felt that the location and the use were not appropriate due to the proximity to the residential development located to the south of the park entrance. They also felt that the building should be placed somewhere else within the community. Several also commented on the building design, the views into the maintenance yard from the second and third stories of the residential buildings, and that the project, several felt that the project would impact property values. Finally, concerns were also expressed regarding the loss of vegetation and its impact on the wildlife within the area itself. The commission reviewed this matter and discussed it, and they took 4 actions with regards to the proposed items. First, on a motion to recommend approval to change the zoning classification as previously noted, the commission voted 1 in favor, 3 against, being the motion failed. At this point, then, the commission also then discussed the appropriate, whether it was appropriate to take any further actions in light of the failed motion, and the consensus was to then also take further action with regards to the special use permit, wherein the vote was 2 in favor, 2 against the motion to recommend approval. Therefore, the motion also failed. Thirdly, the motion with regards to recommending preliminary and final site and landscaping approvals subject to the conditions that are set forth in your report. The commission voted 3 members in favor, 1 against. The motion carried. And then fourth, regarding the motion to recommend preliminary and final approval of the architectural elevations and signage plans, again, subject to the conditions set forth in your report, the commission voted 3 members in favor, 1 member against. The motion also carried. There's a series of conditions of approval in your packet. Those are primarily to be consistent with the proposed plans. There were also variations that were provided for the front yard and rear yard setbacks, along with the buffer requirement. They also allowed for no landscape islands within the parking lot. Fencing of the storage yard and parking lot would be could be a wire mesh with screening slats. And finally, the monument sign should be consistent with the site signage photo and not require a masonry base on its as a part of its construction.
John, excuse me a second. Do you remember the date that this came before Committee of the Whole?
I believe it was either January or February. And actually, it may. Let me research that for a real quick.
Well, we were just trying to find the original.
116. That's what it says at the top of this.
Thank you.
So you have copies of the plans in your packet. Petitioners are here tonight to answer any questions and go over whatever other details that you'd like to see. The Committee of the Whole has several options regarding this petition. The committee could direct the petitioners to return back to the commission for further consideration. The committee should also provide directions to the commission as to what items they would request further review of. The committee could direct the petitioner to work with the staff to enhance various plans to address as many of the resident concerns as possible and return back to the committee at a future meeting. If the committee felt or feels that the use is not appropriate, a motion to accept the recommendations of the Planning and Zoning Commission and to recommend denial of the change in zoning classification should be made. If the motion passes, it would be forwarded to and returned back before the full board at its next meeting for formal consideration.
John, before you go any further, I don't know if anybody else is having problems, but Dave is shut down. I can only open one at a time. You've given us all this stuff in piecemeal this time, not as part of one packet. I haven't followed a word you've said, and this seems to be an important issue. So I've got a problem, and I think at least this half of the board is having a problem. The whole board is out of sync with you.
There are 3 portions to it.
Right,
So.
right. And we can't get from one to the other. We can only open one at a
Well,
time.
I guess my question is, what are you out of sync with so that I can sync up with
Everything, because I
you?
need the summary, and then I need the drawings, and then I need the P&Z report. And all I've got open right now is the drawings, and I've had to go through a reboot process to get that.
This is only.
And I gave up having the summary.
See, this is
Um,
one.
Right. You gave us this split packet, and we can't deal with that, at least without a class
It could not
here.
be fed, and at one time it could not be fed all at once, so that's why they had to separate.
Right. But
We need a
we need
paper
to get that as a full comprehensive, with the summary, with the P&Z, and with the drawings. At this juncture, I really don't want to discuss this.
Well, I guess my suggestion would be, or a question would be, do you want the Hesners to present the plans that are in your packet to allow for that review? And then I can get, while they're doing that, I will give you a paper copy of my summary from your packet.
Now I've got error, not enough memory available to continue.
This is what it is.
No, just, well, give me some direction. What would you prefer?
Well, I guess we could have another meeting,
God.
just bring everybody back in a couple of weeks.
Well,
you know what
we've
I'm
got
saying?
citizens here. I guess I'd like to hear from the residents.
Yes.
Well, we could do
I was
that.
gonna say, let's see what the residents have to
I mean,
say.
And then maybe as a Q&A, Jeff or the Hesners, if you want to kind of provide feedback to their commentary.
Back again.
Everybody might be coming back. Okay,
I know.
okay,
So
go
let's
ahead.
have the residents come forth and
Why don't
ask.
we move this sign so they can come up, I guess?
First, please come forward.
Or, yeah, that's a good idea. Put it over there so if they want
Also,
to
too,
refer
you need
to
to,
it.
Beg your pardon?
if you would, also your name too.
This is Bruce Elrod.
For the clerk, right.
To the clerk, Bruce Elrod is my name. I'm a resident of Century Park. This one?
Probably use the handheld. You're probably better off
Okay,
with that.
pick one.
Right at the bottom, there's a.
Is this better? Can you hear me now?
Excellent.
Okay. I'm Bruce Elrod. I'm resident of Century Park there. I live on that far end, right in view of where this thing is proposed. Okay. I don't think the Park District has quite understood what they've done with the improvements at Century Park. Okay. We appreciate what you've done, but the infrastructure and the space that you have to support parking, for example, today, if you were to come to my residence today, this entire area where this is proposed for this building is filled with parking of cars parked parallel across that area because of all the infrastructure that we built to put in the new ballparks there for Little League, etc. So if you expected people to walk to the park with their children, this is not happening, okay? The other thing that you've done, okay, if you're filling up this space with this building, there's no other additional parking except for the parking of the people that are going to work there, okay? The other part is you create this entire block, which was an open space, okay? You've confined it even more. You built a hard structure in the middle there for the warming building in front of the sled hill right there. And you've taken away part of the parking when you built in the sandlot volleyball So now there's all this overflow of parking here. And I don't think that that space is appropriate for this size of a building, and then for the additional parking that you will need for the people that will actually work there. Also, it seems to me that the Park District itself hasn't maintained its part of the bargain, in the sense that snow days, you built the sled hill, the warming hill, okay? But you don't plow, so they all end up parking in our parking when we're trying to clear that. So we have a parking area to park our cars residentially. I think that if the zoning commission has denied them, I don't understand why this is moving forward, okay? Clearly, the space there is not best served for this type of a building. And maybe the village isn't best served by building the structure, okay? For example, we had some presentations today where people are using other facilities, like in the Conway Park, that may be vacant. Would the village be better served leasing a space for these trucks?
We're not going to lease anything for it.
It's the Park District.
It's the Park District.
Okay.
You pay taxes, I pay taxes to the Park District.
Okay, I
So,
got it separate.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's okay. You get the same tax bill I get, though.
Okay.
Maybe that, you know.
All right, so for me, and the things that they discussed in the open meeting, what you can see from the upper floors, elevations into that, it doesn't seem like this is an appropriate place for this type of a building to be. These residential areas were designed with open space within the projects initially, and I think it should retain that same space.
These are townhouses.
Where are residents parking on private roads?
These are.
Where are residents?
I'm sorry, visitors, excuse me. Where are visitors parking?
Pulling into your parking lot.
Yeah, in our parking lot, all around
The
the
Willows.
Century Park.
The Willows and the northern parking lot of the Willows.
But then they have to walk a fair piece, because your parking is all pretty much south of your buildings, except for off that one cul-de-sac there?
No. They'll truck right across our parking lot into the sled.
Well, they shouldn't be parking there. That's the bottom
Well,
line.
they shouldn't be, but if the Park District doesn't plow the parking lot, and
Oh, is it the
there's
same problem right now?
Yes, it exists now.
Yeah, yeah, that's what I'm saying.
And,
You got-
and the same thing, you don't have enough parking there right now that you have for 4th of July fireworks. They'll all fill up on our parking lot and all along the side. And in the same area now that you have this proposed building, they will park on the grass in that area.
They park
as
in
it is.
mine, and I live off for Hawthorn. So they park everywhere for the 4th
Well,
of July
fireworks,
celebration.
Yeah, I mean, but it's saturated. It's saturated and overbuilt as we have now within the park.
No, it's
Okay?
been-
And we don't have parking facilities within the park to adjust for the buildings and the infrastructure improvements that you put in there and the usage.
Well, I guess my question is, it would the, and I don't care if this is to, Jeff Frugeru or to Scott Hesner. I mean, parking lots are going to be, can they be used after the working hours by people using the park? Is that true, Jeff? What are you yesing to?
Jeff Beck.
Did you hear what I said?
I didn't see him.
Yeah, so how many parking spaces are you going to?
Currently, and I agree with the gentleman that we all know that the parking that's at Century Park North is very limited.
Yeah.
It has, right now, about 30 striped stalls. In this project that we're proposing, we're adding another 24. We need more parking. With the recent development, you see the use. I mean, to us, we've seen the use of Century Park grow immensely. And that's a good thing from my perspective. We want people to use our parks. I disagree with the gentleman in terms of the snow plowing. We take a lot of pride in making sure our lots and our parking lots, it's something that our park staff attends to very regularly. We also work very closely with Public Works and making sure that Indianwood and the Drive, they plow that for us, and then we take care of the lot. So it's to us, it's definitely something we need to do, is to enhance the parking back in that north end.
Thank you, John.
Okay. All right. Does anybody else want to make a comment on this? I'm going to state your name for the record, please.
Sure. My name is Jim Schmidt. I live at 15 Cedar Court, Unit 7. I purchased my I purchased the very last two-bedroom condo in the entire complex 25 years ago. As I mentioned last week at the meeting, the plan was to be here 5 years, but I've been here 25 years because I like the area. When I moved in, it was very attractive because of the density of forest that was between me and the railroad that was out there, because it was quiet, because there was no traffic, there were no trucks driving around. It's a wonderful little residential area that borders on this beautiful park system that we have. And now we've had this incident where, in order to do some surveying, at least it was described that way last week, in order to do servicing, they decimated the entire area that's reserved as a nature preserve. And I don't know how that authorization happens, but the coding, as I understand it, was sort of as a nature preserve. And it was supposed to remain that way all the way from Butterfield to all the way over to Milwaukee Avenue. And
what's that?
In any case, so there's that. And let me move on.
Just to clarify, there's a difference between conservation of open space and nature preserve. Significant difference.
I may be using wrong term, but
I think
it
we're talking about the current zoning, which is COS, which is conservation of open space.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. That okay.
Yeah. Just to clarify.
But yeah, but the intent is to have this, you know, lush, wild area. And over the years, I've enjoyed going out and seeing the owls and seeing the eagles, not the eagles, but the hawks, and all kinds of wonderful animals out there. It's a great place.
If I may, I want to interrupt
Trustee
you.
Williams.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
go ahead.
That area that you're speaking of was originally planned for a road to go from Butterfield all the way down to Lakeview.
Well, I think I'd like to never see that.
Well, it won't happen, but I want you to know that was the original plan for that 100-foot strip.
I hope. And anyway, this is enough of a debacle from my perspective as it is, let alone having a road.
But I just wanted you to know it was planned to be a road. It was never planned to be a nature center, forest preserve, whatever you'd like to call it. It was never planned to be that.
I want to call upon information that we raised last week, Wednesday at our meeting. Was one of the things that we found out was that basically there was one individual who was a village employee was interested in finding a way to build this building for his trucks. And this was the only site that was ever considered. There were never any alternative views. There were never any other choices to look at any other locations. And I think that in the face of this particular location, again, trying to keep that ambiance that's going on with that sort of bucolic feeling next to the sled hill and all the other nice things that are going on there, this is counterproductive, it seems to me. So the number of people that are involved in that grooming group for these trucks is a very small group. The intention, as was mentioned, was in order to have them close to the Big Bear, Little Bear Lake area, so it was convenient for them. Well, that's a nice intention, but not at the cost that this is going to create to produce this building in this location. I keep coming back to the fact that no other alternatives have been looked at, and that's troubling me a lot. One of the general consensuses that was here last week was that, you know, the building is fine. I mean, but the location is terrible. And, you know, a building's a building. And then later on, some people said, well, we'll just throw in some extra trees and shrubs and stuff, and that'll quiet everybody down. But it's not going to do that. all right?
I got to interrupt you again. Where did you get it was a village employee that wanted to build the building?
Well,
it's the Vernon Hills Park District Maintenance Building.
Yes.
It's not a village employee.
The separate taxing bodies.
Yes.
Oh, is it?
Yes, it is.
All right.
You should be getting your tax bill this week.
Yeah,
I got mine.
unfortunately, yeah.
You take a look
I
at
just
it,
did.
there's a separate line item.
All right. All right, well, I'm not familiar with the structure, but I will pay my bill though.
Excuse me, Mayor, can I mention too, and I don't know if you want to delve into it, I think some of you are aware how much time the Park District spent looking at alternatives, and perhaps they want to address
Well,
that.
yeah, as soon as this gentleman's done, I'd like to hear Jeff.
Because
so.
we have talked to him for
Right.
several years about options.
There have been other places, I guarantee you that.
Well, it came up in the meeting repeatedly. Repeatedly, the question was thrown out, how many alternative locations have you looked at? And they said, finally, embarrassingly, they said none.
No.
This is what we've chosen and this is what we're doing. And I'm having a lot of trouble with that. Well, it's all recorded on video. Well, that may be, but that's not what came out in the meeting. Okay, there were no other sites selected or reviewed. I think that another point that I brought up last week was there are about 60 condos that are facing this, I'm being one of them. And this is going to have an economic impact. I mean, it's not that bucolic environment that I bought into. And so it's going to have an economic impact on my property.
How many units are per building?
Well, depending on which building, 12. There are actually 66 units. I call it 60 just to be on the safe side, I guess.
Well, I'm counting 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 with a direct north face. Part of their building has an unobstructed, so there's 12 buildings?
Some,
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, I'm sorry, 6 buildings. I can't even remember.
All right, well, 6 times 12 would be too high. I think when I counted it up, there were 66 condos.
Right. But 4 of the 6 only have the end units facing, so that would just be 2 then?
Well,
so that
the
would,
length of that facility goes out a ways.
yeah, but I'm just trying to get, so we've got 1, 2, 3, 4 times 2, that's 8. And then if there's, you said, how many per building again?
Well, depending on which building, there are 12.
Okay, so 24, so 32 at maximum have a direct view in that direction. I just want to clarify exactly what the impact is.
Well, along those lines, there's probably 3 balconies that have a look.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
So the backs, when you enter the building entrance that faces this potential project, what windows am I looking at if I look at the building?
Well,
are those bedrooms, kitchens?
Depending on the building, some buildings are lined up east and west, and some buildings are sort of north and south.
Yeah, there's 2 that are east and west, and 4 north and south.
Okay, go ahead.
So
what am I looking at? There's views
that are bedroom side viewing this facility. Bedroom side, but that's the front entrance. It's sort of strange, but that's considered the front entrance because that's where you come in with your car.
But okay.
Yes. Right?
All right.
And the other building.
You don't spend that much time in your bedroom other than to sleep, right?
Well, it's
because I'm sitting here in my own backyard. I'm looking at the firehouse. I'm looking at the church. I'm looking at KinderCare. You know.
True.
And go. It's okay, but I mean, you have the same complaint that gentleman has. Is there anybody else that wants to speak to this? Because, unless I put a time limit on you, I'll give you another 5 minutes.
All right, well, let me take 5 minutes and I'll get off.
Yeah, because we have the minutes from the meeting.
Okay.
So.
I also wanted to mention that these people, myself included, are low, middle, and fixed income people. all right? So this economic thing, I think, should be looked at. And I don't believe, I have a friend who is interested in buying my condo when I'm ready to leave, because she wants to downsize. And now she's heard of this, and she's concerned about it. She happens to be a University of Illinois Master Gardener, and she's interested in birds and a lot of other things. So she's looking at this just from the outside already. I'm getting impact on this.
Well, I can, one thing I can directly attest to from your speculating, I can tell you from experience with real numbers, because I also back up to the 100-foot strip where I live. I live in a condo only. I'm over by the Public Works building. And one of the more embarrassing things was I was only on this board about 2 to 4 weeks when I had to go home and tell the president of the association there, who also happens to be my wife, that we were planning on expanding the Public Works building into our backyard. And the big criticism was if we did that, the home values would go down, okay? The same argument you're making. And I want to tell you that the only thing that drove the home values down was the 2007 crash 13 years later. After we built the Public Works building, the value of our homes continued to increase every year, even though that encroached, and it was only 100 feet from the lot line in our neighborhood, and our home values continued to increase for the next 13 years. It was the crash of '07 that actually caused values to come down. So that argument is you know, that's only speculation. What I'm telling you is actual real numbers that I can attest to. So.
Well, again, I'd like to quote Mr. Schultz over here, who was looking at the McDonald's thing, and he was talking about the grounds around and let's save the trees and such. That was one of your views, and I think it's important. I'm trying to still preserve that whole debacle, the decimation that was going on, and it's sensitive to our community there. I think that, you know, maybe, you know, this group needs their storage facility, but I don't think it belongs in my backyard or their backyard.
Okay. Anyone else on this topic?
I'd like to hear from Jeff.
Yeah, that's fine. I just wanted to let any other citizens speak to this if they want to.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, I don't care. Yeah, it's unless there's someone else wanted to.
In fact, both come up.
Hi, I'm Cindy Kessler. So I just wanted to address your concern that we did look at alternate properties. We looked at over 11, or about 11 properties, and we started with Corporate Woods, trying to take advantage of an existing space. They were, pardon?
No. Microphone.
Oh, I'm sorry. They were
probably better.
Too large for what our needs were and required a lot of modifications to be able to do that. We had looked at, I mean, I have a whole list. I don't think you really want to.
45 was one of them.
45. I mean, it became, I guess our goal was to think about a good location, minimum impact, and efficiency for, that we could meet our needs and we could also have a good operation through that. We have obviously put a lot of new amenities into Century Park, so the draw is there. So the parking lot was another motive to be able to have that. And I know you're concerned for open space. I'm a tree hugger also. And the area that I was told had a lot of buckthorn in there, had ash trees, and so it was kind of an invasive area that we needed to, that you'd want to clean out anyways. So the quality of the trees in there were not high quality. And we are, another point of interest that may have appeal to a gardener is that on the one end of the parking lot, we've had a lot of success in our gardening plots that we've had in different locations, and we're planning on, we'd like to add that as an amenity too. So another beautification and adding that. Did I address those?
Yeah, and I think just to answer the gentleman's question, Mike Mormon, who's our park superintendent, Mike was present at the planning and zoning. Mike is in the back row there. you know, Cindy and the board and I were out of town and couldn't attend, otherwise we would have. But, I just asked Mike, quite frankly, did you make a statement of, you know, this is the only place? And his answer was no. He succinctly and directly addressed the zoning commission that we looked at several sites. And as Cindy alluded to, we can attest to 11 different locations that we looked at, and we kept coming back to Century Park. Is, you know, it's our largest park. It takes up about 40%. We have about 400 acres that we manage. Century Park is about 160 acres of that. About 60% of our daily operations is out of that park. So from a logistical standpoint, it makes sense to us. We're certainly here to be flexible with the neighbors. We want to make that very clear. We want to make any type of successful facilitation that we can with the neighbors. We feel like that's something just in our daily methodology as the Park District to be very cognizant of our neighbors and work with them on a consistent basis. So we want to make sure that the board's aware of that.
What was the reason for not moving the building a little farther east so it was by the fields?
Yeah, I'll leave that to Hesner because that was a wetland study that we did.
I know we talked about it.
The floodplain extended further to the west at that particular point. So we moved our site. Is it on?
To the east.
To the east or west?
You're fine, you're on.
Yeah, no, but yeah, right. But so we moved the site as far east as we possibly could up to where the floodplain was.
But there was something about the curvature of the land or something. I can't remember why.
It was really more or less the floodplain.
Water comes through, yeah.
But,
I knew there was
all right, wasn't the question, though, why didn't they move it closer to the fields? That way is west, right? And, you know, I mean.
You're correct.
So
west goes further towards
the field.
Indian Woods, that's right.
No.
No.
East.
East.
East is
Goes
towards
towards-
residential. West
No,
would
that's
get it in
east.
front of the
Look
field.
at Cindy,
The
look
other
at
way
Cindy,
around.
and watch where she goes.
West is to your left.
There you go.
They're going, Indian
West
Wood
is
runs
to my,
north and
yeah.
south.
West is to your left.
That's where the residential is.
Not,
Right.
not if you put it over here.
Indian Wood runs north and south.
This is floodplain. To the west is floodplain.
To the east.
The east, by the lake.
Right there.
I wanted to know why they didn't put it
Yeah,
behind
so
the
why didn't you
fields.
go to the,
Well, that's all houses. I wanted it
Yeah, we
right-
were going more into the residential neighborhoods if we went to the west.
You're closer to a residence.
Right.
From exactly where it's at now, all the way to Butterfield Road is all residential, backing up to the 100-foot strip, until you get to the Public Works building in my backyard.
Your testimony is you moved the building as far east as possible,
That's
and
right.
then you ran up against the floodplain, so you could not move it any further to the east.
Correct.
And that's,
Okay, and obviously the landscape plan was presented and discussed.
Correct, yes.
And who's doing the landscape plan?
As far as what, implementation?
Oh, was there a landscape architect or?
Yeah,
Joe
Joe
Brusso Design.
Okay.
Joe Brusso.
Right.
Okay. All right, well,
shouldn't they put that one up?
Jim, what are you looking for still? The minutes? Jan, do we need the minutes?
yeah, the P and Z.
Because I know what he's saying. I got this in front of me, but I don't, you know, I'm not that adroit at jumping back and forth.
No, I understand, and I apologize, Your Honor. There's really two things that you can do. I mean, we can produce the minutes, and what you have is a summary of from the meeting based on the time limits.
Yeah, I don't even have that up. Can you
Well,
go through that one more time? Just there was 3 votes that P and Z took, right?
4 votes.
4 votes, I'm
Right.
sorry. And they all failed either?
No, they did not fail.
Okay.
Let me go over them.
Please.
And
This time I'll pay attention. I won't be beating on the machine.
Okay.
John, also too, you should bring up that 2 of the board members, due to, it would be a conflict of interest. So 2 of the board members did not vote due to the fact there's a conflict of interest.
Right, they didn't even attend the meeting.
Okay, the one.
Well, one's the architect, the one's Baloo.
Correct.
Yeah, okay.
Correct.
All right.
So I just want to make sure it's pointed out.
What are you going to do?
There were 4 motions that were taken. The first motion was to recommend approval to change the zoning classification. The vote on that one was 1 in favor, 3 against, so the motion failed.
Okay, and the discussion, key elements?
The key elements of that discussion were they felt that it was not an appropriate location for this use.
Okay.
The second vote was then for a recommendation to recommend approval of the special use permit to allow a public maintenance facility to be constructed along with certain variations. The vote on that was 2 in favor, 2 against. The motion failed.
And again, the key discussion points there?
Same.
But we had one more suggest that it was somewhat appropriate. It was 1 to 3, and then it was 2 to 2.
Correct. Correct.
And the difference in that?
You know what? I can't tell you what the difference is because there wasn't that much explanation. There was a vote, okay. And so we didn't go through it and say, Chairman Morris, you know, Mr. Mulcrone, how did you feel? It didn't get down to that. Okay. So the third vote was then to recommend preliminary and final site and landscaping plan approvals subject to the conditions in your report. The vote was 3 in favor, 1 against, so the motion carried.
So they liked the design of the building, they liked the landscaping plan, they just want it someplace else.
Correct. And then the fourth vote was a motion to recommend preliminary and final approval of the architectural elevations and signage plan, again, subject to the conditions that you're in your report. The vote was 3 in favor, 1 against. The motion carried. So those are the 4 actions that were taken, and there were additional conditions that were also added to what was originally considered, and those are listed in your report.
Why did they proceed after the first vote failed?
Because they moved forward on it based on trying to anticipate if the board would say, we think this is a good location, we want to give you our opinion on the remaining 3 items.
Do you have any colored renderings?
Yes.
Of the buildings themselves? Do you have a nice rendering of the building?
We're getting them on our monitors.
No, I don't want it. Oh, you don't have it on the board.
No.
Okay, whatever.
That's one elevational study. Is a rendering basically of the south elevation of the building.
This is what would face the residence.
Yes.
Okay.
If I were standing out on that condo balcony or whatever, that's what I would see.
That's what you would see.
Well, you're not going to stand out on a condo balcony, and most people aren't, and you guys sitting there correct me in looking at that. You're looking out your bedroom or your kitchen window. Yeah, I want this lady back here in the white.
Come on.
Please come forward if you would.
I'm Margot Reinhardt. I've lived there for 4.5 years, and the reason why I love living there, I just want to tell you, is like similar to this gentleman here. I live in a small space, but I feel like I've given up like living space because we have so much beautiful outdoor space. And unfortunately, my daughter said it's becoming like the rich man's backyard. The park is not really what it used to be. I appreciate what the park has done, and I know that the kids really enjoy the playground and the new, amenities and everything. But what about like the woods where we used to like walk in and look at the trees? And it's like, where is all that exploration area for kids going? And there's so little left, and yet they just went through and just totally cut out the whole thing. And it's disgusting. It's sickening. And
So what,
and I look out my window.
Hold on, Tam.
Yeah, I look out my window, and I do spend a lot of time in my bedroom. It's my sanctuary, and my view is beautiful right now. I see the sunset. I do see the train track, but I do see where they decimated the woods over there.
But unfortunately, there's two major problems there. One is a lot of that's buckthorn, which is just, I mean, most of that 100-foot strip is bordered by buckthorn. And the other problem, unfortunately, because we had to take down all the parkway trees on my street, the ash trees that are there, we're like everybody else in the northern suburbs. The ash trees are just, we're being decimated by that stupid little bug, and that's unfortunate. That's something we've been, Dave and his staff have been way out in front on, but a lot of what's been taken out of there is either buckthorn or ash, and trust me, buckthorn is not a nature lover's tree. Buckthorn is an invasive species that's actually nothing more than big brush.
Well,
and I wish there was something we could do about the ash trees, but we really can't.
Well, I mean, I understand that, but they basically clear cut it, and I'm sure it wasn't all buckthorn. I mean, I don't know if you can pick and choose, but they literally just like, it looked like a logging enterprise or something. They just went in there, and I just feel sorry for the children. I feel like there should be areas that are natural where they can explore, they can, you know, just escape and just go in the woods, and there's little trails through there, and I even enjoy going back there. It's like an escape, and it's so special. And I just feel like they're just building and building and building in the park, and they've got this like orange fence up now. Like you look out, it's like something's always under construction. They just won't leave it alone. They just have this, you know, like need to constantly build. I don't know. I just wish you guys could come over there and take a look at it and see. And for yourselves.
You know, I live right down the street. Well, I mean, it's not exactly a finished product.
No.
You know,
no, it's not, but.
So, what, do you have, Hesner and Hesner, do you have a real good picture of what it'll look as a finished product? Or is that it? Is that the best you guys got?
The one on the very bottom, is it?
Is that the best? I mean,
No,
what
no, we
are
have-
the
we have-
what are the buildings over here? I mean, is that part of on the left-hand margin?
This is the pavilion, and this was.
That's the existing
That's
pavilion.
existing pavilion.
Exactly.
And we tried to tie this building to the pavilion.
But this picture I'm looking at doesn't accomplish that.
No, that's correct.
Well, so what do you have that's better?
Okay.
To show
Earl,
us.
I want to go back to the renderings. Okay, go all the way back to let's start the whole sequence. This is the first rendering we have, and this rendering shows the view from the southwest corner looking northeast. This is, yes, it has an 8-foot chain link fence that has the black vertical slats that are inside the chain link. And the chain link is made black because we've seen in other park districts and other areas we've done it, they disappear when they're in the black colors. And as you can see, the landscaping along that corner is the evergreens, and they're going to be large evergreens. They're probably, I think, 6-inch material that's going in, and they will probably get to the heights that you're seeing in somewhere from 3 to 5 years. Okay, Earl, go to the next one. This is going further up. This is going up Indian Wood towards the east. This is the gate location coming into the yard side of the facility. You can start to see some of the building there too, where we have the 3 colors that are on the precast concrete. And again, you see the black fence that's screening the yard itself. That is, look at an elevational view all the way across the south elevation of the building. This shows the full length of the building itself. It shows the yard to the left, and it shows the start of the pavilion to the right, which is where the office area is, and that's where the Parks Maintenance office is going to be.
What's the length of the building?
The building is 192 feet long. No, 132, right? 132, sorry.
Okay, and it's 24 feet high.
24 feet high.
Okay. And then the width?
The depth of the building, yep, 96.
So it's 96 by 132.
Yep, 12,889 square feet.
Okay. And the building material is everything I see. What proportion is actually the stone that looks, you know,
The stone is
kind of
on,
earthy, kind of prairie, kind of...
yeah, if you look at the rendering that's on the screen right now, the pavilion, which is in the corner, is kind of screened by that one tree, has the asphalt shingle pitch roof, and the stone is in all the piers all along where the glass is into the office area. That's right.
Okay, and then are these just, you know, I guess, are these real windows at the top up there?
Yes.
Okay. All right.
Yes, they are.
And then, you know, and you got, what, a double door, 20-foot high overhead door on the...
24-foot wide, 14-foot tall.
On the east elevation?
East.
On the east elevation and on the west.
Okay.
Yeah, you can see it all the way through the
On the previous drawing that you had up there, how far east does the floodplain go? In other words, could it, because there's that other parking lot to the east.
Yeah.
Yeah,
right?
I don't know, maybe Dave, you might want to speak to this, because the issue is our property went right up to where the floodplain essentially started.
Well, with this Park District property actually goes all the way to Lakeview.
It does, but this particular lot...
Right, I know, but I mean, there is another section
Off
by the
Lake-
parking lot
Yeah.
that comes in off of Lakeview.
Yeah, right, which is on the other side of the CV ditch
The
and everything else.
floodplain's getting extremely close to the east side of the 2-acre parcel that they're talking about. I don't have an exact location, but it's
Well, no,
right
because
up
we were just
against-
looking at an aerial of it and wondering if it could go east over where that eastern parking lot is over without bumping up against Manor Home.
If you click to the site plan,
it's a
Yeah.
There's no locker room.
While they're doing that, you mentioned-
Because when you go east, the next residence you get to is the Manor Home. Sorry, Trustee Webb.
You mentioned the fence is black vinyl.
It's a black vinyl chain link fence with the slats that are inserted for screening.
Right, I agree with you,
build a
black
6,000
fence
square foot
seems to
building
disappear after
and
a
keep your
while.
other- and
But
they
if
have
it's
two
got
locations.
slats in it, it's no longer opaque.
Yeah, you're correct, but we still have some, we still had success with it not looking or appearing. It kind of goes away, it almost becomes clear a little bit.
When it's opaque, it goes away.
It tends to screen.
Would the Park District entertain a cedar fence? I mean, yeah, just to dress it up. Citizen,
Do we hear
Just a moment.
Yes, sir.
grab the mic, sir.
Yeah, you ought to, yeah.
One other item that I think needs to be mentioned, those of us that are on the second or third floor will be looking down into the yard, which will be with the concrete bulkheads holding the gravel and grain and shredded trees and all the rest of this stuff. It's not going to be pretty looking inside that, and if you're on the second or third floor, you're going to see inside of it.
Okay.
Right, there's
Yeah, sure.
parking lot here. This is existing where they're going to make this.
Hi, I'm Tony Litzo, and I live at 7 Cedar Court. And I know that there will be a building there, possibly in the future. I have a balcony that faces the ball fields, the sled hill. But if I look in that direction, this is what I see right now is all of Greg Landing's flat screens. It looks like a sports bar. And, well, it's pretty bad without those trees there. Originally, I wasn't really opposed because of this type of thing, but I do feel that there's a better location. It's taken away from the park, and I don't think they're going to hide this building from the neighborhood. I love the Park District. I'm in that park 5 o'clock every morning, 3 times a day.
Well, I mean, you know, the reality is, I mean, they have, you know, I'm like you, I'm led to believe that they've looked at 11 different locations. And, you know, this is the one they've settled in at.
Yeah.
Now, it's up to us to decide to let them build it there.
Yeah,
okay?
I understand.
And, you know, in essence, the P&Z is advisory. The P&Z is not binding. So at this point in time, you know, we would certainly, I mean, from this chair, I would certainly want them to do a little more with the fence, a lot more maybe with some of the landscaping to satisfy what has been taken out. And, you know, a case in point, I mean, in town here, you know, and I know you folks have lived here long enough and you've driven around, I think we've really gone, you know, above and beyond, you know, what's expected as far as putting, you know, nice vegetation throughout this whole community. And, you know, even for example, like, you know, even on 60, you know, where we got the landscape islands running down 60, you know, it just doesn't make it look better. I hope so. You go into the business parks, and I mean, those are pretty lush, a lot of them with the berming and the flowers and the plantings. And so I think, you know, the last time on a mass basis where we were called upon to address, like, you know, a whole neighborhood with the vegetation to screen them from a major highway, and that was Route 83, was where Mike Allison lives and Larry Nacron. They don't live necessarily up against the highway, but in Grosse Pointe Village. And we must have planted what? How many pine trees did we plant around? I mean, it was
hundreds.
Oh, you know, and if you drive down there now, the houses are well screened. So what I'm saying is that there's a type of a white pine, and all my staff experts here that work with this a lot more, I think some of these white pines grow 18 inches a year, you know, and I mean, they really do screen. And with that said, though, I'm sure the landscape plan has other trees besides pine trees that honestly do grow pretty fast. But who's familiar with the landscape architect's drawings? I mean, what kind of trees are we putting in there?
There's a willow on that one.
A willow. Yeah, you don't want a willow. That's about I got two in the back. No, one fell in the pond, and I was happy it did.
Okay.
You
know, we have.
Yeah, they're okay, but they're kind of dirty.
We have the landscape plan in front of you, and what you see right now, the green ones on the end are all evergreen trees.
Yeah.
Those where he's pointing to right now. The gold ones all the way through are the 6-inch materials. Those are
the calipers 6 inches?
Yeah, 6 inches. This could be very big material. It's going to be planted initially.
What kind of trees?
I don't know right off the top of my head. Do you remember? Do you remember what they are? Little leaf linden. And then we put the brown ones that are below are kind of step below, so we can layer them all the way through.
But
and those are the ornamentals.
Okay, where's the parking lot? How much parking lot is west of the building? Most of it?
We go over to the. Yeah.
So everything's where, in front of the building?
Yes. Yes.
To the floodplain.
Towards the
Yes.
floodplain and towards the ball fields and the.
Okay.
Yes.
All right, so the building is closer to Indianwood.
No, I think it's.
Well, we got to go back to that one drawing. What are the setbacks, I mean, from Indianwood? Is it 200 feet?
It's 37 feet
Okay.
to the property
300
line
feet,
itself.
300 feet where you make the turn, okay?
Yeah.
So on this drawing, is this all building I'm looking at?
No, what you're looking at is the gray area is the building itself that he's pointing to right now.
Right.
The brown area to the left is the yard itself, and the gray area to the right is the parking area. The green areas are, there's the community garden to the east, and the rain garden, which will be one of the...
To the west?
It's actually to the east.
Well, wait. There's another green area, much smaller than the one to the
There's
east.
a green to the west, and that is also going to be native plantings there, so it's going to return to a natural state.
Okay.
Well, I mean, one of the comments that we heard today was parking, and initially, go to the other plan, the site plan, because this is easier to explain. If you look to the far to the right, that's where the rain garden, and that's really the drainage best management practices system that drains all the runoff of the parking and goes back into the ditch itself. And then the area that's open that he's pointing to right now is also the area where the community garden is going to go. And eventually, you know, it is also the safety for potentially future parking. It is not designed to do that right at this time, but it has been land banked.
Okay, and then the red is obviously parking for 24 vehicles.
Yeah.
That'll be open to the public to use also.
Yes.
Okay. Well, that's existing. Yeah.
Now, in talking about the landscape too, I'd like to have Jeff come and explain a little bit on the south side of Indian what they're planning on doing.
I don't know if you can pull that up, Kurt. But along the south drive as you're coming in Indianwood on that berm.
This is it?
That location, which is right outside a lot of the units here that we're addressing. We're going to be planting 15 to 20 large-scale evergreens on that berm as well. So that will, and those are blue spruce, which can get anywhere from 50 to 60 feet at maturity. So the plan there.
Well, let me ask you a question. Did the folks that live there want something? Go ahead. Yeah, you want to come up? Just come on up. Come on up.
My name's Mary Roll. I actually live on the landing strip that Mr. Cook talks about, but a blue spruce, it may be 30 feet wide at the base, but how narrow does it get at the top for somebody still being able to look over it? I mean,
they get pretty big.
But the width at the top is not the same as the bottom as a oak tree would have with a 12-inch base and a 30-foot canopy.
Right.
But they get big, but you're not going to have somebody on the third floor is not going to have their, it's not going to be tree looking at.
Right.
But also I just want to say this is conservation open space. Why are we giving that up? Why are we giving up the open space? We fight so hard for it in Lake County.
Well, you're talking here, 2 acres that the Park District controls.
But I was told that this is the village's property, and are you selling it to the Park District then?
You're talking where the building's going?
Yeah. Is that village property?
That's the right of way. That's the right of way. And it's, okay, well.
The Park District will work with the residents in any type of plantings that they want to have on that berm. If they didn't like the idea of the spruce,
well, I was just going to say,
we'll come up with something that they'll like.
Well, plus the plantings, even on the site. I mean, there's got to be a way to take a. If you met, can I ask you a question? Have any of you met with the Park District, in a informal setting to discuss any of this?
Yes, we did.
We're just at a.
We started the process with the Willow Century Park Homeowners Association by calling up Linda Stanko at the Hillcrest Management, and that started roughly about February 19th.
Yeah, but what was the first? Okay.
Okay, and
meet before P&Z, before.
Oh, yes.
If you heard all these concerns before you walked into P&Z?
Well, actually, Scott was there, and he could tell you what he heard at those meetings, but we heard nothing but positive responses.
Okay.
We also met with Greg's Landing North, and I was at those particular meetings, and everything was positive there, too.
Were some of you people, did you meet with the Park District before? No. And
Our group, to my knowledge, our group did not. And if I might add, it's a property management company. They have no skin in the game. They're just a contractor that will just
Yeah, now, Scott, you want to come up here? I'll be honest with you, I'd like to kind of move forward on this tonight.
Yeah, just an echoing
Did you
that.
meet with any of the people in this room, Scott? Were any of them at a meeting, an informal meeting?
None of the people in this room attended the
Were
homeowners
there-
association meeting that we had.
Did some people come that actually were homeowners?
They did, and the president of the homeowners association attended, along with 4 other people. There were 294 notices sent out to every homeowner in this area, and we tried desperately to get a meeting with as many people as possible, and we scheduled the meeting at the pavilion so that they could just walk over and attend it and participate as long as they wanted. And unfortunately, we only had 5 attendees, but the people that were there, they were vocal, they participated,
Yeah.
they liked what they saw.
Okay, well, but, you know, I assume that what actually stirred people's true interest was once the trees came down. And the no, for
actually,
you folks, when you saw that, right? I mean, it had a...
I'm sorry.
We can't hear you. I'm sorry.
You've got to come up, sir.
Would you please come up? Yes.
Once you clear the space out, okay?
Right.
Then you can see the density of where that would actually take place. It's one thing to look at a rendering and say how pretty the building is, but if you're looking at the actual density within that space there, I think that's where the zoning commission, because as you say, is non-binding, but it's inappropriate to be there because of that density of the space and how it's situated here. Then there's this whole other aspect of, yeah, we're doing this screening, but it's only good at ground level, okay? It doesn't do anything from our views if you're on the 2nd or 3rd floor of the buildings, okay?
I understand that, but I think the mayor's question was the lack of people being at the meeting and what sparked your interest. Was it when you realized what was going there and when the buildings, when the trees and stuff started coming down?
No, my interest was from the beginning, you know, like some of you people from the Park District said.
Yeah, okay.
Meetings that they had, they
All right.
Yeah, but somebody from the Park District said that they didn't attend some of the zoning meeting because they were traveling at the time. My job is 70% travel all the time. For me individually, that's the reason, okay?
Okay.
So I came here all.
Just
Trustee Cook, we got it.
Just a kind of a final type comment from me anyway. The combination of the fact that these are like 3-story condos and that, and I'm very hesitant to overturn a commission. That's their job to do the fact finding and that, and to get as heavy a vote as we did. I know they went ahead and voted on the other stuff, which is, I understand what they were doing with that because been there, done that. Based on what the commission has put together in that, I'm leaning more toward the fact that I just don't think this is the right location for it. Just because, even though a lot of the facts that were said tonight were, well, no, don't applaud because it sounds good. I know it sounds good, but that's not why I'm saying it. Okay, because some of what you said earlier was wrong. Okay, so I don't agree with everything you said, but at the same time, I'm really hesitant to overturn a commission. I just really am. And that's their job to find it out for us. And if we wind up after exploring stuff that there's absolutely no place else that this can go, then maybe I'd be willing to revisit it. But right now, I just feel like we got to explore something.
What those other places were that you looked at and why they weren't. I know. And why this was the best place.
Please.
Would that be information you'd want, Tom, also? Because I don't know why.
Yeah, and I you know, maybe sit down with staff and that and help you look for it in that because there's just something about it doesn't feel right, especially with the commission voting as strong as they did.
I have questions too, is the fact there are 294 units, 5 people showed up. I know part of our people that have come forward are people that own, and I don't know what the percentage is, how many rent. Plus another factor is we have a 12,000 square foot building. The building that the Park District occupies now is a 4,000, am I correct?
It's a little over 6,000.
Or 6,000. A thought is it's trying to find a happy medium in here. If it were a 6,000 square foot building, 2 locations, one's a 6,000, another's a 6,000, but you may be using this one, I don't know. So I don't, a comment was never brought up if it were a smaller building. Try to locate it at a different point further to the east if possible, or change it around, or in fact, we have to find another location.
Our intention there was to just leave it cold storage. And that's what precipitated this initial search, is because we've outgrown that facility. That facility is 25 years old. It was built when we had 5 employees. We now have 18. It was built when we had a half a dozen parks. We now have 28. Okay, so what we're talking about too is a very inadequate facility in terms, we have 4 female staff. We have no female restrooms on the site. Our female staff have to go off-site. This is something, we came before the village board on 2 occasions. Before we even got into doing any of this other work, this legwork, we've spent some money to get to this point. And, we came before you with the understanding of first doing the agreement to clear cut the site. We sent notices to over 200 of the residents in this area on December 5th. We held a special meeting on December 12th. 1 woman showed up. We held another special meeting in January. We posted it at a website. We put it to the press. We put it out in our publications. 2 people showed up. We spoke with all those people. We met with the HOA at Greg's Landing. We met with the HOA at Century Park. We feel like we've gone above and beyond in notifying the people in this area about this project. Before we clear cut it, we had signage on the site to contact the village and or us that this was going to take place. So, I'm sorry you feel that way, Commissioner Cook, but I just feel like the areas that we did research, most of them, the majority of them, were in Corporate Woods or Continental Business Park, and they were just not logistically moving tractors, backhoes, mowers through that area, trying to get across 60 or going down 45 or going down Fairway to get access to our parks was very challenging. We looked at property off of Allenson Road. Again, we were working with Van Vlissingen. We were working with a broker to try and find a location that was conducive. We had at that time set in sight anything around 20,000 square feet. Every time we kept getting into position, it was over budget. We knew what we had to spend. We sized this property down. We came back with Hesner and we were looking at a 15,000 square foot building. We got it down to 12.8. All of our existing equipment, trucks, vehicles are stored outside 365 days a year. We need something that can facilitate all of our equipment and put inside. And we're going to do that with this facility. This facility keeps all of our vehicles, all of our equipment indoors. We certainly will, again, I'll stress, we want to work with the residents. We want to make sure that this works. This fencing, if it needs to be cedar, we'll do cedar. If it's at 8 foot, fine. If we need to lower our bins from 8 foot to 6 foot so that people can't see in and see some of the brush or mulch, we can do that as well. We'll landscape till the cows come home on every side on this thing to make sure it happens.
Well, to put it in perspective, I mean, Dave, what's the size of our public works building? It's more than 12,000 square feet.
It is.
It was about 40?
Yeah. I honestly don't know the square footage of the building.
Who does?
I'm sorry, what was the question?
I wasn't asking you.
No, but what was the question?
Size of the public works.
About size of public works.
Oh, goodness.
That's
Since
probably
the
what,
rea-
the building's gotta be what?
renovation,
about
I have no idea.
250 feet long?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, so you're
Yeah.
probably looking at 20.
40 feet wide, you know.
Jeff,
I guess where I'm going with this is that, you know, I'll take the counterpoint, at least with Tom. If there's 3 trustees up here that want to vote for this, and I have to be the tiebreaker, I'm going to approve this building and have them work with you to you know, take care of this, you know, the landscaping and the types of trees and, you know, the types of fencing and such. But this is a building that they've needed for years and years and years. And this is next to your park. I mean, if you don't use the park, that's your prerogative. But I mean, New Century Town Park, Big Bear, Little Bear Lakes, I mean, it's a beautiful area. So in essence, you know, this is a structure that I think they can make aesthetically pleasing, and it already sounds to me like they're going that route with a couple of the gardens on either end, and the landscaping the berm that's on your property. Or is that your property? Or is that our property? Well, it could be. Yeah, it is. All right. So in essence, I mean, I want to, you know, I'll be honest with you, I want to move on this tonight. So.
But one more question for Jeff. When you talked about the cross, I understand what you're talking about with the crossing 60 with the tractors and stuff like that. I go back to what Trustee Marquardt said. You got a lot of park facilities south of 60. Is a split building? I mean, maybe a smaller building here a better idea, and a split building so that you're not doing exactly the opposite of what you're talking about, putting everything up there and then having to move it across 60 going south.
Yeah, again, I think what goes to that, Trustee Cook, is just trying to keep all of our staff in one location. If we had split staff at 2 different locations, it makes it pretty challenging to, just from a communication and a working standpoint. We did look at sites, you know, on the south side of 60 off of Butterfield too, and once again, it was pretty challenging for us.
If I may, I can certainly understand what you're saying about not being able to drive the tractors back and forth, but obviously you're still going to have to get to the parks on the south side of town or in other areas of town. My concern with the letters that were mailed out is that I believe a lot of the apartments or condos are rentals, and an absentee owner probably would not show up. However, having said that, a lot of people do own and live there. For instance, all of you people. And it has come out that none of you were able to attend. I understand that people work, people have jobs, they travel, whatever. But did anybody call the Park District? Anybody call and try to find out what this was all about? I can't attend the meeting. What's going on? What's it about? Let me finish. I owned a condominium myself, but if I got a letter from the village saying there was something that is going to be built next to my condo, I would certainly make it my business to find out what's going on. So while I can sympathize with you and I understand where you're coming from, you've got to take some responsibility for not looking into what was going on. I know that we've looked all over town for a place with you, trying to find somewhere else to go. I have very mixed emotions. I can understand people not wanting to see it. I like your suggestion that you can make the bend shorter, perhaps even put covers over the top of some of them. When you know, once the stuff is in there, so you're going to pull it out from the end. You're not going to go into the bin like so. Anything that I think can be done aesthetically would certainly be a big help to the people that live there, would make it more palatable for them. I would suggest that these people here, perhaps, if this goes forward, asked to be on some type of subcommittee to meet with you on the landscaping, to meet with you on the aesthetics of what's going on over there, so that they do have some input into it. That's not saying what they're coming up with is going to be the demand that's going to be met, but certainly have a word in what's happening. When I started talking, I was going to say, I don't want to vote on this tonight, but you know what? I've talked myself into a vote, so whatever the pleasure of the board is, I'll go with it.
Trustee Schultz?
I've listened to all the people bring up points, and some of them I just can't buy into. I don't want kids exploring next to a railroad track. One of the most horrendous things that happened in my life was a good friend of mine lost a leg underneath a rail car because he was screwing around on a railroad track on a weekend. That kind of shut me down a little bit there. With regard to change is always difficult. But I think that the Park District is really trying hard to mitigate that change. With regard to the commission and their vote, two of the what I consider premier members of that commission, who I've had the pleasure of working with, recused themselves and didn't even participate in the discussion. And from that aspect, I have a problem because I don't think we had the full value of a discussion at P&Z that would have been a little more broad-based and may have, in fact, helped you to understand what was going on. And finally, I mean, you indicated that you use the park every day. Well, those parks have to be maintained, and there's a certain level of infrastructure that has to be put in place to allow those parks to be maintained. And I think the Park District is trying very, very hard here. And again, this is like the third time we've been through this, and this is the first time we've heard any opposition. And while I understand where each one of you is coming from, you're also not a groundswell here. I mean, we're not hearing that the management company has been bombarded with every resident demanding that this project be stopped. I understand you have a direct vested interest because you have some views that are being impacted, but I really believe that the Park District is going to work with you to give you something, a reasonable return to a new normal, which may not be what you really were hoping for, but it'll be a reasonable accommodation. So with that, all that being said, I think I have to go along with the Park District's request here. I can't see stopping this because it is so necessary to maintain this beautiful amenity that you take advantage of because you live on it, and the rest of us take advantage on a periodic basis when we get the opportunity to go out to them.
Okay.
Can I?
Yeah, sure.
To you residents, I want to give you a perspective on something that we've dealt with day in and day out over the number of years I've been on the board. We had issues with Hawthorn School wanting to put a parking lot closer to homes. We worked with those folks and we made that happen. I live behind the train station. We made that happen so that's comfortable for those residents to mitigate the noise and stuff like that. We've got people that look at firehouses. We have people that look at parking lots. We have people that look at many things that park districts have really. We've got people in Greg's Landing that didn't want to park behind their home, yet the park district was willing to embellish and make that look nice. And I do believe you're fortunate because years ago, they just put it up and there wasn't a whole lot of discussion or input. We had people that back up to Fairway Drive, our own residents that said, we don't want to look at that road. So this village board put in landscaping. So I think everyone here is willing to work together to make this happen for you so that it is nice. You've got a unique opportunity to participate. They've listened to your concerns, and I do believe this is the only place where it can go, unfortunately. But it's going to work out, and you're going to be fine with what happens. Because, again, we've got people that look at other things. I know there's that, not in my backyard. You know what? Sometimes things have to be in our backyards to make it work for us, and we'll make it work the nice way. And we'll make it look very nice and very amenable to you. So from this chair, yes, we have to go forward and make a vote. We've worked too hard and too long to make this stop, so we're going to make it go forward. Sure, yeah, no, I mean, I look at a train station.
Yeah, you look at a train station.
And I hear
We're
the
all
train
trying to
too.
make this a nice sell, it seems, from this end, okay? But if we failed on the zoning, but Mr. Mayor said the zoning is non-binding.
Advisory, right.
Is non-binding,
Right.
okay? Doesn't it imply to at least our residents understanding about zoning commissions? I mean, you have the rules that it's non-binding, okay? If we think that the zoning people say it's not appropriate to be there, why is that suddenly not binding, okay?
Because they're an advisory board.
It's never been binding.
Yeah,
Okay, it's
they're an
never binding.
they're an
they're
advisory, they're a
advisory.
fact-finding advisory board.
And two of the people that may or may not have needed to recuse themselves did the right thing by recusing themselves, because one of them is on the Park Commission,
Okay.
and the other one is the architect of record for this project. And those two people would understand this project more than anyone else probably on that commission, and their input was not available. So while I like to go with Trustee Cook and observe the decisions of those boards, I feel that that board was not, in this particular case, fully apprised of all the elements and did not have the opportunity to debate and provide you with better answers at that, because two key individuals of that board did not participate because they chose to do, in their minds, the more honorable thing. So I think we all got shortchanged through the P&Z process because of this particular circumstance.
But there's another interesting aspect when we talk about traffic flow and density, okay? So we're talking about Century Park. Everything's in Century Park. But you have 20-some other parks somewhere else, so all of that's going to go out from there yet again, and then have the same other traffic process into the other parks through a more residential area, say down Indianwood as well, in the traffic plan. Does that make sense?
Well, your question is to the point that one of the trustees made a comment a long time, and I've always stuck with this one because it's so true. You can have an area that's built. You have a north side and a south side. The problem that exists is someone says, let's build a park on the south side. The north person is saying this. And the person on the south side says, let's build a park on the north side. Unfortunately, you have to come to a medium out of it. Throughout the area of Vernon Hills, there is plenty of parks. There's a VHAC center that's unbelievably one of the tops.
Okay.
Unfortunately, in fact, I live by a park. They built a parking lot. And my comment, I stayed out of it. But the thing is, it's like, why would you build a parking lot in a park area? But it went through. And be honest, people complain about it, and now people like it because they didn't park on the street. There are so many things here, and again, to have only two people show up does sort of upset me. And I'd have to admit, probably at the beginning, I didn't like all this. I'd like some more feedback out of it.
It seems to me, that when we look at these and elevations, and this group seems to think about what looks pretty, okay, as opposed to what's really functional, the essence of what this is meant to do, okay?
It's meant to maintain the park.
Yeah, but we've got the public works thing with like traffic flow and all these kinds of things we have. Yeah, you have a park here on the east side, you have a park on the west side, on the south side, whatever. But centralizing this into some area that's way away from the rest of the ones that you support has other impacts in there as well. So there's more than just this location and the density and what looks pretty and what you like in a South Side Park, and they all have to be maintained. That's the reality of it. That is true, okay? But you put all of the building into one place all the time, Century Park. I think you've overbuilt that thing already.
Okay. Village Attorney Kenny, you have a comment to make?
I do. I just, for clarification for the residents, the idea that the Planning and Zoning Committee recommendation is not binding, that's set forth in state statute. It's a hearing body, it hears the evidence, and that recommendation goes to the village board. In many communities, there's no discussion like this at the village board level. The recommendation goes to the village board and they act upon it. So in Vernon Hills, they take that recommendation and allow everyone a further discussion. But the non-binding aspect of the Planning and Zoning Committee recommendation is set forth in state statute. It's not a local rule that does that. That's a statute scheme that was set up. Just for clarification.
Okay. Yeah, no, I'm not, no. I know, I've heard everybody in this room at least once, other than this gentleman. Is that your wife?
And this gentleman here.
Okay. You're going to have the last word on this before we take action.
Well, I live in 6 Echo Court, which is right adjacent to the area we're being discussed.
Could you grab the microphone, sir?
Oh, yes.
And she'll need your name, too.
Last name is Bakke, B-A-K-K-E. First name is John. And I lived there for 15 years. And we lived in Cedar Court for a while, and now we live in Echo Court. And even where we're at, we can see this area where this is going to be built. It's not adjacent. But really what I wanted to say, the people that I have talked to, neighbors, people that have been at these meetings, do not want that building built there. That's our, and I feel that we have a strong say in the area in respect to that. Now, they said they took this to our homeowners association, which they maybe did. I'm speaking of whoever did. It never got to our level. They didn't come and talk to the people that live there. The homeowners association consists of primarily, but not necessarily, absentee owners. And it's a management company. It's not located in the immediate area. And I just want to say that on the basis of that, we do not want that building built there, okay? The building looks nice, it's a good idea, but it needs to be done someplace else. This is my feeling, and I think the majority of my co-neighbors, whatever you want to call it, probably feel the same way, but if you really delve into it, we never got any information on this up front. They said that, yes, we went to the homeowners association. They maybe did, but this never got to our level. They maybe called a meeting. The only meeting I know about was the one for the zoning commission, which was done on the 1st of May. And that was made, quite a bit of information that got out. So, and I think the number of us that are here, which is a minority, but I think we all feel the same way. We don't want that building there.
Okay. All right.
Thank you.
We appreciate that, everybody's comments and input, and is there a motion to approve?
Can I ask a question of Mr. Kelmer? Do you want one motion covering all 4 points?
You can. I mean, it would be a motion to direct the staff to prepare the necessary ordinance granting the following. Approval to change the zoning classification for a portion of the property from COS 1 to PIB. 2 would be approval of the special use permit to allow a public maintenance facility to be constructed along with certain variations, including but not limited to setback, fencing, parking requirements. 3, preliminary and final site and landscaping approvals. And 4, preliminary and final approval of the architectural elevations and signage plans. These would be subject to the conditions of approval that are attached in your packet, including the variations and then the conditions for the entire site itself. I would note under conditions of approval for the entire site that condition 5 calls for the Park District to work with the village staff to address the concerns regarding enhanced landscaping, as was previously discussed here, to provide additional screening for the storage yard and parking lot. This also would include landscaping on the berm on the south side of the entrance drive, as Jeff indicated tonight. Discussions about restrictions of truck delivery times in the mornings, limiting items placed in the storage yard, including landscape waste and garbage, limiting the glare from the wall pack lights on the building, future placement of the parking lot lights within the lot, and that there would be no outdoor storage of vehicles at the location.
Right.
I would also suggest possibly the inclusion of increasing the height of the fence and changing the type of material for the fence. That would also be included as an item G in this, and we would work with the Park District to find an alternative fencing material that A, provided the screening, but B, was also of a hardy nature that would be able to adjust to the activities within the yard. So,
I make that motion.
There. Motion and a second. Roll call.
Trustees Markwart?
Aye.
Schultz?
Aye.
Schwartz?
Aye.
Williams?
Aye.
Hebda?
Aye.
Cook?
No.
Motion carries. Motion passes. So who's going to be working directly with the homeowners here that had the concerns about the landscaping? You got somebody, but who's going to be is anybody here going to work with the Park District? Well, well, and I think, you know, staff will participate too.
Yep.
Any trustee want to participate in this?
Sure.
I'll be glad to.
All right, trustees Markwart and Schultz will participate in this too. Yeah.
Last week's meeting, this meeting tonight.
I'm sorry, I can't hear you.
Last week's meeting and tonight's meeting, the reference has been made that there were meetings with our condo associations. Century Park Condo Association has never been mentioned in name. I would like also to have the names of the people that represented my condo association.
I think they said that was a president of the association.
Well, I want real names. I hear a lot of smoke and mirrors, but I want real names.
Board.
Sorry?
You elect your board.
No, I want to know who
Get Mr. Hesner's card. Mr. Hesner says he has the names.
All right, I want to have the names.
Yep.
Okay,
Please.
fair enough.
Please. Yeah, I mean, otherwise.
Absolutely.
He'll get you the name, but as they stated, as an association, you elect your board members.
No, I understand that. I've been there 25 years. I know how
got
that
to
part,
us. He said he'd
but
get
I
to
want
us.
to know who deemed themselves capable of representing our total community
Jeff,
when
was it
none
the
of us
condo
know,
board?
when none of us know who that was.
The same people that were invited to the.
Well, it was the condo
We
board.
don't know who that
you
is.
right?
We
Yeah.
got-
Well, let me ask you,
I answered your question. Your condo board
was
that
there a
you elected.
sign-in sheet?
He's got the names, he said.
Yeah, okay.
Yep.
And make sure you give him your name so he knows where to get them to.
Okay. Is there a motion to adjourn committee of the whole?
So made.
Go into closed session to discuss litigation. Roll call. Oh, is there a motion? Motion and a second?
Yep.
Okay.
Trustees Hebda?
Roll call.
Trustees Hebda?
Aye.
Cook?
Aye.
Markwart?
Aye.
Schultz?
Aye.
Schwartz?
Aye.
Williams?
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you and good night.